ahead and begin our special meeting called to order at about 6:02 p.m. And we will go ahead and take roll call. If you can say your name, I will call members of the LSC. If you can state your name and your role, that would be great. Thank you. Tina. Okay, I don't see Tina. Principal Gibson.
Principal Gibson.
Thank you. Sharice.
Sharice Brooks, paraprofessional.
Thank you. Kirsten.
Kirsten Clay, parent rep.
Thank you. Emily. All right. Kate. Okay, she might be joining us later. Mac.
Mac Laboon, community rep.
Okay. Nick. Mr. Hall.
Sorry, Sarah, I was letting in people. Nick Hall, teacher rep. And I see Tina has joined us and Kate has just joined us too, just so you know.
Welcome, Tina. Welcome, Kate. Cindy.
Oops, am I here? Oh, Cindy Watola, parent rep.
Thank you. And Lori.
Lori Viets, parent rep.
Thank you. And my name is Sarah Ogeto. I am parent rep. I believe that is everyone called. We have all members present with exception to Emily. I'm not sure she hasn't joined us.
You know what? I didn't get roll call, so I'd like for it to be on record.
Okay, very good. We had Lori Viets, parent rep, Principal Gibson, Nicole, teacher rep, Mac Laboon, community rep, Kirsten, parent rep, Kate Kaczynski, Nick, you said she parent rep, Lori Viets, parent rep, Sarah Ogeto, parent rep, and Tina, parent rep.
Thank you.
Yes. All right, so the agenda is as followed, has been shared. And so would like to put a motion on the floor for approval of the agenda. Would like to put a motion on the floor for approval of the agenda.
I'll approve the agenda.
Put a motion
I will
on the floor.
second the. I'll second the motion.
Okay, it's open for discussion.
I had some questions about clarification for the agenda items. So for item A, I guess it's a lot of words. So what specifically are we talking about there?
So this one is speaking to where we're at in terms of our teaching staff and how teaching and staff as it relates to being able to adequately support our instructional objectives and school programs.
Okay, and that's for now or for the upcoming school year?
It is for now and the upcoming school year.
Okay. And for B, what's the crisis? I'm curious.
Sure. So some concerns have been raised just in terms of ensuring that diverse learners are supported in adequate ways currently and for the next school year.
Okay. Is there I'm just curious because the word crisis is used. So I'm just curious, is there a gap now? Are there needs not being met at this time? Or is this about potential loss of resources?
It's a great question. I believe it's assurances around student safety as well as loss of resources for next year.
Okay.
I think more specifically, parents had raised concerns about the number of diverse learner teachers who have already put in their resignations, and then questions about the clinician team and who would be coming back next year as well. So looking at a virtually new team for diverse learners for next year, that was like a complete turnover of team is how some diverse learner parents brought it up to the LSC.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. And I did see some of those emails, and, you know, of course, legitimate concerns and questions. I was just curious about the word crisis. Okay. And okay. Let's see. Oh, and D, lack of adequate LSC member input to the principal evaluation process. Is that upcoming or last evaluation process?
Yes, those were concerns raised about the evaluation process that that had just been done.
Okay, I'm just wondering the objective of this item. Is this planning for next year, or?
I think it's I believe it's around concerns of how the process happened for this year with.
Oh no, I mean the actions, because I imagine these are about information and resolution. I'm hopeful, and so I'm just wondering what the resolution for, you know, what is the goal, I guess. I mean, I understand there's discussion about involvement, but just because I just want to make sure we're clear, because that standard has been met, it's been submitted, 7 members approved it, so I just want to be clear that it is what it is. I don't want the expectation that it can be pulled back, I guess.
The goal is ensuring that all feedback was incorporated into the process, and also having a discussion around the process.
Okay, thank you, Sarah.
Yeah. Anything else for point of discussion around the agenda? Yes, Principal Gibson.
Yes, I had a question about B. Is this B is staffing? Is that my understanding? That you said that that's about staffing?
It is about staff.
About staff? Because I'm concerned if that's in the purview of the LSC when I talk to LSC relations.
And it's more or less related to student safety.
So is it student safety for this year? Because we have all staff members in place as far as I know. So it's about staff student safety is what B is.
Yes.
Sorry, and adequate staffing to meet the needs of diverse learners when we have so many people leaving is how I was seeing that as well.
That's my question, Kate, because if that's it, that's out of the purview of LSC. And so that is not, yes, it is. Staffing is not in the purview of the LSC, but I will speak slightly on staffing, but staffing is not one of the duties of the LSC.
Yeah, and I think if we get into the meat of it, it really is around staffing and how that's being communicated to families and strategies to ensure that families of diverse learners are supported in that regard. And then, of course, student safety as it pertains to, specifically for diverse learners.
Nick, is there other people waiting to get in?
I'm letting them in as soon as I can, as quickly as possible. So yeah, they keep coming in.
And sorry, I joined late, Tina, if you took roll. It's Emily.
Thanks, Emily. Welcome.
Or Sarah. Yes. Hi. Thank you.
And so any other points of discussion for the agenda? All right, then we'll move to vote on the motion. There's a motion to approve the agenda. All in favor of approving the agenda, please raise your hand.
Sarah, you're muted.
Oh, thanks. I believe I see eight hands. And those who disapprove the approval agenda, please raise your hand.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so I see 3. Principal Gibson.
Kate, your hand's still up.
All right, so that's 3 in favor, and anyone who is abstaining from the approval of the agenda. Okay, the motion carries. All right, so we're going to move into public comment. For public comment, Mac, could you please read the instructions for public comment?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just noticed it's not on this agenda. Let me pull it up from another one. Give me just 1 second.
Oh, thank you. Sorry about that.
While I'm doing this, Nick, do you have a sense of how many people have signed up for public comment?
Yes, so we have 23 people signed up for public comment. That does include 6 LSC members, including myself, who I believe will be reading statements on behalf of the public as permissible in Article 4 of our bylaws. So actually, I had a question for that, Sarah. Should I call all the public participants that are not on the LSC first and we do the LSC members at the end, or do you just want me to call everyone in the order they signed up? Either one I think is fine.
I think just to keep in how we've done it in protocol in the order.
So public participants and then LSC members? Or order?
Nope.
Or do they sign up? Okay, sounds good.
Thanks.
All right. With Nick's information, it sounds like we are going to have at least about an hour of public comment. And so I'll emphasize the importance of the time limit for today's meeting. So members of the public are welcome to make comments and ask questions, but must sign in to participate. The public is called upon to speak in the order in which they sign in. The public is kindly requested to limit their comments and questions to 3 minutes. And for today, when it's 10 seconds left, I'll say 10 seconds, and then at 3 minutes, I'll say time. Based on the comments or questions, the principal may address some concerns directly and, if necessary, create an action step for the LSC to follow up with the involved parties at a future date. While the LSC will do its best to address any comments or questions, when necessary, more time may be needed to adequately address a particular concern.
Thank you, Matt.
Okay, our first public participant is Charlotte Thorson. Charlotte Thorson.
Oh, wow, I'm first. Okay. Hello, LSC members. Thank you for the incredible work that you all do for our school. My family and I are grateful for your leadership and commitment. I'm writing on behalf of my husband, Jevin, and I. We have 2 current Tubman students, Ella, who's in the 2nd grade, and Crosby, who's in pre-K. I watch most LSC meetings, but this is my first time speaking. Over the past few weeks, we have been made aware of a growing number of teachers and staff who have resigned or intend to leave Tubman at the end of this school year. Given the large size of this number, we respectfully ask that the principal and LSC look into the situation, share information with the community, discuss and take any immediate action to halt the loss of our school's greatest asset, our teachers. We turn our kids over to these teachers each day, and every single day the teachers give everything they can to help our children learn and grow. Their voices are of the utmost importance right now. From a personal perspective, we could never value this group of teachers that work at Tubman more and cannot imagine how to process the type of extreme change that we are terrified is coming. Ella's 3-year school career has been one of turbulence as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, but her incredible teachers have offered a stability, safety, and consistency that has enabled her to thrive. And this goes beyond her classroom teachers to her specials teachers, to the magical staff members that step in to substitute, to the teachers she's met through the OST programs, to a 4th grade teacher who came across her in the hallway one day when she had a bloody nose and helped her clean up and feel better. At 8 years old, she feels like she knows them all and looks forward to learning with them. We have read and heard endlessly of the stress on those in the education field, so sadly expect some teachers to decide to forge a new path. And we are city families, so we understand the regular loss of people to the suburbs, but we worry that the number of teachers leaving may indicate a larger problem and believe that it's worth investigating. Those of you who know me know I'm a communicator. I love questions, I enjoy discussion and brainstorming, and believe information can bring people together. So while we recognize that you already give so much of your free time to work with the LSC, we thank you for calling this special meeting and ask that you take the time to investigate, ask and answer questions, and hopefully find a way to take action around this incredible teacher and staff turnover that seems to be coming. Thank you again so much.
Thank you, Charlotte. Our next sign up is Allison McGannon. Allison?
Can you guys hear me okay? Thank you. This year has been a tough year for students, for families, for teachers and staff, and for our Tubman community. We can point the finger at so many culprits and forces of stress, including an ongoing pandemic, uncertainty, inconsistency, trauma, budget cuts, lack of subs, personal and family crises, and a steep learning curve for new staff and administration. As a parent, I appreciate the opportunity to stand in front of this LSC that has served at their post through it all and ask, are we doing our best by our kids? Do we have the right staff in the right places? Are we allocating funds and attention towards things that address all students' needs, no matter how quickly those needs are changing? Are we giving our staff the resources they need to do their job effectively and sustainably? I know I can remember blurting out the words to my husband sometime in the depths of early 2021 as a tired and desperate working mom, this is not sustainable. I feel like through my own personal interactions with staff and families, and sometimes administration, I'm reading between the lines and hear, this is not sustainable. I'm asking staff and admin to please be transparent and share with this board what you need from our community, what you need from this board, what you need from your principal, so that you can continue to do the excellent job that you do, and so that you can continue to provide for the needs of our kids. All the needs, the arts, the enrichment, not just the teaching in the classroom during the school day, the after-school activities, the sports. I know that the CTU often reminds us that teachers' working conditions are our students' learning conditions, and I want my kids' learning conditions to be safe, happy, healthy, and comfortable. Thank you.
Thank you, Allison. Up next is Nicolette, and I have put the list of the public participants in the chat so everyone can be ready to speak when they are called. Nicolette Andrews is next.
I'm going to abstain at this time as what I wanted to say has already been said.
Thank you, Nicolette. Next up, Pat Dorr. Pat Dorr. Okay, I do not see Pat. We can try Pat later. Simone Weffer. Simone Weffer.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hall, and thank you, LSC, for the time to speak today. My name is Simone Weffer. I have 2 children at Tubman in 7th and 3rd grade and 2 alumni of Tubman. Tubman is such an important part of our community, and I want to just remind the LSC that the LSC is the conduit to the parents, a way to provide transparency and accountability for the entire community, to hold the institution, which is the school, accountable, to provide transparency and knowledge and information to each and every parent, to each and every student, to each and every staff member, to each and every faculty member. If the LSC does not fulfill this charge of providing transparency to parents and holding the institution and its members accountable, then you have failed the fundamental duty of the LSC. If the LSC is to be the arm of the democratic process, then we need the LSC to hold people accountable. That does not mean getting people fired or losing jobs, but to ask the hard questions and to get the information that parents and families need to feel confident in the school, to make decisions about their children's education, and to ensure that the working conditions for every staff and faculty member are positive ones as much as can be done in the middle of a pandemic. Thank you very much for your time. I yield the balance of my time.
Thank you, Simone. Next up is Molly Alvarez.
Thank you. I did see that Pat Dorr, I believe, is on now. I think he raised his hand, so I don't know if he wants to go next.
Is that Chicago Hospitality?
It is.
Okay, go ahead. Sure, Pat, go ahead.
Pat, I believe you're on mute. I don't know about others, but I'm not able to hear Pat.
Yes, and he seems frozen for me. I'm sorry, Pat, maybe we'll try to come back to you. Let's move on to Molly for now, just for time's sake.
Thank you so much. Thank you, LSC members, for holding this special meeting. I would also like to thank the 120 people who are attending this meeting. I have been at Tubman for 3 years, and this is definitely the most participants that I have seen, which shows that we have a very active community of caring parents and staff and admin who are hopefully here today with open minds and open hearts as we all want to work together to solve what is potentially going on in our school. I'm sorry, I'm shaken from the earlier episodes of today. And so my thoughts are just mostly with wanting to create a safe and caring environment. And I know that schools are strongest when parents and teachers and admin, those 3 pillars are all aligned. That is when schools are sturdiest. And I feel like this is an opportunity for all of us today to have a collective conversation in ways that our school has not had. We often have conversations on this side, conversations on that side, but I am really hopeful that we are all here with open minds to have a collective conversation on what we want for our school future. And I am here as a parent to help further our students' learning, to help further our parent community, our teacher community, and our admin to all come together. So thank you very much for your time, and I look forward to listening to what others have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Molly. I see Pat is back. Let's give it a try again. Pat, go ahead.
Hey, thank you, Nicholas. Is that better?
Yeah.
All right. My apologies for the disconnection. I'm just going to echo many of the parents who already spoke and say it's tremendously concerning to hear about the level of sudden upheaval. And we wish Tubman to succeed. And we wish Tubman to succeed and our kids to succeed. And I really hope as an outcome of this meeting, we get a long-term vision for how we're going to be staffed in the fall, as well as for other ways that we can make sure this unexpected situation that has probably broken the LSC viewing record going forward, so this many parents aren't joining us at the last minute. And my apologies, I'm at another work event, so sorry about the audio, but we really, really need to make sure these sudden events don't come up again in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Next up is Dana Carmen. Dana?
Hi, thank you. Thank you to the LSC, to our staff, to our admin, and to our community for meeting together tonight. I know there's going to be a lot discussed tonight, a lot that has already been discussed in previous meetings on the playground, online. I'm not sure I need to add a point to each specific item that has arisen as a concern. I echo those that have gone before me. I am concerned about it all, the reports of toxicity, bias, mass staff departures, lack of accountability, and the safety of our students and staff. Worrying about the state and fate of our school is not new to me, but I've heard the words crisis and fear multiple times. So I'm here to hear our staff speak for themselves and for our students, and to learn, listen, and contribute to creating a safe, inclusive, and transparent environment. I'm also here to help fight for a school that thrives, a school that cares, shares, and both teaches and learns. I am here in support of that school, the school that Tubman can be. Teachers should feel safe and supported in their school. Students should feel safe and supported in their school. As education and policies evolve and shift, so should our educators, students, administrators, and families. As problems arise, so should solutions. As issues occur, so should restorative resolutions. We are humans and we make mistakes. We teach our children that when we know better, we do better. And so we try and we do. And when we don't, we must own that. Acknowledge, apologize, get up again, and move forward. We expect much from our students, and we should expect no less of our administrators, our teachers, and ourselves. We are showing up here today because while we may have different strengths and weaknesses, opinions, feelings, and investments, we believe in building this school. We are here for the ups and downs, twists and turns, successes and failures that come with nurturing a school into a community and a pillar of that community. We have spoken up and out when and where needed. And what I'd ask today of everyone on this call, but especially our LSC, our administration, and our staff, is to believe in our kids as much as they believe in us. Let's build them the school they deserve. They are looking to us to lead with open minds and hearts, to handle each other with utmost care, to teach with firm intention, to give with grace, and to respect them, our staff, and our community. Whatever happens from here, whatever is discussed, whatever steps are taken, please be guided first and foremost by the northernmost stars, our students. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Dana. Our next speaker is Eliana Rodriguez. Eliana?
Good evening. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, Eliana.
I just wanted to thank you for allowing me to speak tonight, and just wanted to really briefly say, I think Agassiz or Tubman Elementary has the potential to be a really great school. I do think that it's imperative that the school leaders really take the time to listen and understand all of the concerns that are going to be brought up or are being brought up tonight and have been brought up in the past. I know everyone, it's a crazy world right now and everyone has a lot going on, but I do think that we need to find a way to make sure that we prioritize that, because there are a lot of real concerns out there that have to be addressed, and in order for us to see the change that we need to see at school for our children. That was all.
Thank you, Eliana. Our next speaker is Laura Franz. Laura?
Hi guys, sorry, I'm at the Sky basketball game, so sorry there's background noise. I'm just here to echo, I don't think I could say it any better than what people have already said, Dana, Charlotte in particular. Here to support, really hopeful for Tubman to become its potential. I just want everyone to feel confident in our vision moving forward, what we can do. And Also, with the turnover, I'd love to know and hear some accountability as to what those hiring processes are looking like, who's involved, what voices are being heard, and just hearing, because there's going to be a lot. So I'd love to know more about that process. Also, I'd be remiss with this big of an audience not to shout out literacy and just really try and, next year, the focus LSC would be on doing a deep dive into the current curriculum and that we use and the obvious concerns that it has. So yeah, I'm just looking forward to bringing the community together, just hearing it all, and then moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Our next speaker is Patty Lenkoff. Patty.
Hi, can you guys hear me okay? Great, thank you. Thank you to everyone who's spoken. It sounds like we're all kind of echoing the same thing. So I had already written a few words down and I don't really know how to just quickly change it. So I'm just gonna read what I wrote. In light of the large number of staff resigning or being reassigned at the end of the school year, I reached out to the LSC on Sunday in the hopes they would call this special meeting to discuss the current climate and culture of our school. I know I'm not the only one that reached out. I'm very grateful to this particular LSC for the work they have done this past year, for always listening to the concerns of all stakeholders and for setting up this meeting. Our school in particular has been through a trying and challenging time these last few months between the COVID pandemic and all that entailed, along with the hiring of a new principal and administration. Our community has dealt with a lot of transition, which to be expected brought us many highs and lows. For me personally, as both a parent and chair of Friends of Tubman, I am concerned about what I have seen and heard the last few weeks, and I'm worried about the state of our school. I have been a part of the school community for the past 14 years, and I'm hoping to see my son graduate from Tubman in 2024. With the potential of children's safety and well-being at risk, I'm concerned we will be losing more than just staff at this point, but also some of our families as well. Rather than comment specifically on what I have heard, I feel it would be beneficial to have the LSC and Principal Gibson clear up any rumors or hearsay and share with the community how many staff are actually in fact leaving and why. The why is so important because this is an unprecedented amount of staff leaving all at once. I have had many important and impactful conversations over the last few weeks and have heard enough to sound the alarm. Our school community seems to need restorative action and repair. While I don't have specific answers on how to repair it, I think full transparency, especially tonight, would go a long way in sending us on a path forward. We are a caring and supportive community that has come together in crises before, and I am confident we will do that again and resolve all of this in a respectful manner for all involved. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Patty. I will now be reading a statement provided to me by a majority of the Tubman staff. Dear LSC, we have always prided ourselves on being a close-knit, collaborative staff that works toward meeting the diverse needs of our students and our school community. Many of us have worked at Tubman for over 10 years and have developed trusting, nurturing, and respectful relationships built on a common commitment to serving in the public schools. We understood a changing leadership this year would ask us to open our teaching community to new colleagues, new ideas, and new ways of working together. We were excited for this change, and we were committed to making this a successful school year. However, we have reached the end of a school year and continue to be distressed over the lack of leadership, the deterioration of our school climate and culture, and serious concerns around the capacity of our school leader to maintain a safe environment for both students and staff. As a solution-oriented staff, we have tirelessly worked through our union channels, both the PPC and the PPLC, to resolve many ongoing issues, and have attempted to have conversations with our school leader. Our efforts have been met with defensiveness, a fear of retaliation, and a culture of intimidation where staff do not feel safe voicing their concerns. Our concerns and issues are as follow: lack of professionalism and respect in conversations with staff members, lack of communication and safe avenues for feedback, use of internal staff surveys to target individuals regarding feedback provided, threats of disciplinary action against staff, ongoing accusations of staff being racist, derogatory statements about staff made in front of other staff, unwillingness to take responsibility for decisions that impact students by citing a lack of knowledge or awareness despite being informed, countless instances where our leader lied about conversations with staff, exchanges between staff members, or parent concerns, lack of follow-through on CPS board policies as it relates to student sexual misconduct and or student complaints as it relates to the Office of Student Protections, lack of leadership regarding numerous staff complaints of an employee, lack of transparency on hiring and or transferring of staff despite attempts of the staff to gather information or to understand rationale for staffing decisions, teacher evaluation reach best practices not being followed, disrespect of professional boundaries, lack of follow-through on administrative responsibilities, lack of responses to emails from staff, lack of honesty and transparency around student behavior and safety. These are some of the many concerns we continue to have as teachers and staff. As you may know, we end the school year with at least 13 staff members leaving our school and countless more who are uncertain of their future at Tubman. Those of us who are staying are disheartened, exhausted, and fearful of another year of the same issues with little accountability or oversight. We are also deeply concerned about bringing into this fractured community new staff who are unaware of the challenges we face under this leadership. Lastly, we believe it is critical these issues are addressed immediately to minimize further harm to our school, the Tubman staff. Our next public participant is Sarah Oghetto.
Thank you, Nick. My name is Sarah Oghetto. I have one child in the 6th grade. It is widely acknowledged that learning begins at birth and takes place in the home, school, and community. Meaningful family engagement is based on the premise that parents, educators, and community members share responsibility for the academic, physical, social, emotional, and behavioral development of our children. Family engagement is fostered through a deliberate process that is embraced throughout the school. It empowers adults jointly and supports student growth, addresses any barriers to learning, and ensures that college and career readiness. Foremost, effective family engagement systems, policies, and practices are mindful of diverse school communities that are rich in language, culture, and school experiences. They are responsive to student and family needs. I read the statement from the Family Engagement Framework that I strongly believe in and am committed to, not only for all families throughout the state, but more specifically for our families here at Tubman. And beginning this school year, my son was so fearful about, as many, about what coming into the school year. This school year was met with many challenges and obstacles and highlights and moments of optimism. I serve as an LSC member here, but most importantly, I am a mom and I am a part of the Tubman community as a parent. I hope that as we move forward in this space together, that we ensure that as we are supporting all children, and that equitable implementation of the school policies and procedures as it relates to creating supportive classrooms, ensuring that all children have the tools that they need to succeed, are accessible to them, and that students are not targeted because of what they look like or where they come from, that every child really does have an opportunity to thrive and grow, and has the opportunity to experience joy and be silly in their own spaces, regardless of what they look like. So I am concerned and present my concerns as a parent with regards to the equitable implementation of school policies and procedures, more specifically as it relates to how we create safe classrooms, we create healing spaces for our children, and that we allow children to be able to process what they're feeling in safe ways. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. I see Simon Oghetto was also signed up.
He'll yield this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Next up, Sarah Shelton. Sarah.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Thank you, everyone, for your time and energy. The previous participants have expressed the same concerns and expectations that I already have about safety, transparency, and alignment in expansive solution-oriented approaches with how we all move forward. So I'll yield the remainder of my time in order to accommodate others who need to be heard. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Cindy Watola is next. Cindy?
Oh, okay. Am I on? I am reading a letter from a Tubman staff member and on their behalf. Dear Tubman Local School Council, thank you for the opportunity to inform you of the practices and leadership of Principal Gibson that have resulted in a school culture and climate that feel toxic, unsafe, and fearful. I'm extremely disheartened thinking back on the 2021-2022 school year in this manner and seeing how the actions and behaviors of Principal Gibson have had such a negative and damaging effect on Tubman staff and students. Here's a list of my concerns that have risen while working for Principal Gibson. Lack of follow-through by the principal. Principal Gibson lack of presence in my classroom. I can confidently state that she has seen me teach only 3 times during this school year, 2 being formal observations. Knowing that Principal Gibson mentioned that her ability to develop relationships as being a strength during her interviews, I am dismayed that she does not know my students' names nor my teaching style. Further, I would like it noted that she and I never met one-on-one for a relationship building conversation that she offered, since she did not respond to multiple email requests to do so. Unethical treatment of staff. During the first quarter, she would label me as a favorite before criticizing how I handled the situation. As a specific example, when religious protesters were outside at recess, I made her aware of the situation and communicated to my homeroom what had occurred. The following day, Principal Gibson was upset because other homeroom teachers had not sent similar emails. She placed the blame on me for not communicating to the other teachers. A culture of fear created by the principal. Under Principal Gibson, fear is the first feeling I have each morning when I walk into school. There have been several occasions when interactions initiated by Principal Gibson would begin with, "Do you know why I want to talk to you?" Principal Gibson also uses the tactic of cold calling during meetings. As an educator and a professional, I would never cold call, as this is a known method to assert power and dominance and instill fear. These practices have not and will not be tolerated in a school community. Disrespect for appropriate boundaries. Principal Gibson uses a physical approach during interactions that include locking of arms, fist pumping, and hugging, all of which are unsolicited, unprofessional, and uncomfortable. As I mentioned before, the climate and culture of Tubman has become toxic due to Principal Gibson's leadership style. I would like to end by stating that these practices are some of the very reasons so many of us are leaving a school we love. Thank you for your time. Sincerely, a Tubman teacher.
Thank you, Cindy. Next up is Kirsten. Kirsten Clay.
I will yield my time to Lori Viets.
Thank you. My name is Lori Viets, and I'm the parent of 3 diverse learners at Tubman Elementary. This is our 4th year as a Tubman family. I am a parent representative on the local school council and will start my 2nd term in July. I am the chair of the Tubman Inclusive Education Supporter Committee and serve on the Equity Committee and the Communication Committee. Tonight, I want to address student safety concerns and the lack of adequate reporting of these matters that have been brought to the attention of LSC members. Yesterday, the principal sent out a community update on safety concerns. Dear Tubman parents and families, the safety of your children is always our top priority, which is why I must inform you of a situation that has recently come to light. And also, we remain committed to providing your children with a safe, positive learning environment where they can reach their full potential. I feel to say that the situation has recently come to light, and we remain committed to providing your children with a safe, positive learning environment where they can reach their full potential to be misleading. Administration did not file the complaint with Office of Student Protections, even though multiple staff members had spoken to the principal about concerns with this employee's behavior towards students and fellow staff members. I first informed the principal and staff of my concerns with the employee around January 20th of 2022, and then again on March 9th, 2022. At that time, I was only speaking to our interactions and was unaware of concerns from coworkers at the school. In my role as parent representative on the LSC, I was tasked with gathering feedback for the LSC on the climate and culture at Tubman Elementary. In that process, multiple staff members spoke to me with concerns about the employee mentioned in the Title IX complaint. Combined with my experience with my own children and observations as an affected parent, I worked with a staff member to file the report with Office of Student Protections. The principal did not file the report. Mandatory reporting is part of CPS training, but in this case, it was a concerned parent who reported the information. I am concerned that student and safety concerns are not being reported at Tubman Elementary. I am concerned that our clinicians are being removed from our school when they have been such an essential part of my children's success and mental health. I am concerned for our school, our staff, and students. I thank everyone who has sent in documentation, gave feedback, or has spoken at tonight's meeting. I know personally how scary it can be to speak up and share personal experiences, especially when you do not feel that you can do so without retribution or retaliation. I am afraid for myself and my children, but I feel that I need to speak out for the greater good of the Tubman community. When all of our children and families feel safe, secure, and seen, our community can reach its highest potential. When critical voices are silenced, minimized, or ignored, we create an environment where growth is impossible, or worse, an environment where silence and obedience are valued over the safety of our students and staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori. Our next public participant is Kate Kaczynski. Kate.
Sorry, I also am reading a letter that was given to me by Tubman staff. So I will go ahead. Several members of the clinician team at Tubman would like to share our concerns. We have a strong, cohesive team that has formed close partnerships with parents to support diverse learners. As a team, we have worked hard to create a high-quality special education program that exists at Tubman. Individuals of the clinician team and are very important members of many teams that are critical parts of the school environment, including the behavioral health team, multi-tiered systems of supports team, and others that support the success of all students at Tubman. Many of us have been at Tubman for several years and have witnessed drastic negative change in the culture and climate of the school environment. This has contributed to 3 staff members leaving our school mid-year, as well as 11 others putting in notice that they will not be returning for next year. Teachers and staff members are regularly in tears due to dismissive and hostile interactions with the principal, and team members have been discouraged from and reprimanded for collaborating with teachers without the principal present. The team believes that there has been retaliation against some team members who were pushed out of the school against their wishes after seeking support from the network. We feel that turnover in the clinician team is detrimental to students who have benefited from long-term, consistent relationships with the clinician team members. This is especially important during a time of high mental health needs due to the pandemic. The team is very concerned about dishonest behavior, gaslighting, victim blaming, and dismissive behavior that has been pervasive throughout the school year. The team has witnessed unprofessional behavior such as reprimanding team members in front of parents, disregarding parents during sensitive meetings, being visibly disengaged during meetings, and speaking negatively of teachers and staff. With students, there has been a pattern of ignoring misbehavior, claiming to be unaware of misbehavior that was previously purported, not believing students' reports, victim blaming, and failing to follow proper protocols for reporting incidents. Many students and teachers alike have reported not feeling safe or supported at the school this year. Even when serious safety issues have been brought to the principal, they have been dismissed. Under this principle, we feel that the climate and culture will continue to suffer and negatively impact the quality of education available to Tubman students.
Thank you, Kate. Our next speaker is Erin Studenka. Erin. Erin, I don't see you. I can try you again. Next up, Matt Yanni-Tillar. Matt.
Good evening, all. Thanks for allowing everyone to speak. There's certainly more going on than I anticipated with the agenda, and I'm admittedly out of touch a little bit as a parent. I'm not in the school every day, so I'm not catching wind of a lot of the types of interactions that are being described here. But I will say that my comments are kind of framed around item A loosely in this regard, and this is sort of concern about what my daughter, who's an 8th grader, has expressed to me about her experience later this year in particular. And I guess I was thinking of it in the context of Tubman being an IB school and the work that's been done in the past years to push to be a strong IB program, namely helping students attain greater independence and problem solving and community oriented thinking, celebrating kind of world cultures and thinking outside of their own city and neighborhoods. So in that regard, there have been elements with the that I feel like have been pulled back from the 8th grade experience. No significant trip outside of the city. I think that has been part of the experience for past students. Maybe go to Washington or some other type of notable city. No significant educational field trips, I think, that were meaningful to the students, other than maybe some of the ones that were just right around the school. Things like for my daughter, she was looking forward to having a leadership role in the field day experiences, because that was something that she had looked forward or had seen as a younger student in the program. And I think some of those responsibilities have been allocated to others now from maybe outside the school, and that's a disappointment. So she has expressed that to us as parents, and that's something that I guess I'd like to bring to the LSC and the administrative team. That the decisions that are being made really do have an effect on the student experience, and how students feel about the program that they're matriculating through. That's, I guess, what I wanted to say. I think good communication to stakeholders goes a really long way. I think that's been something that I've been discouraged by this year. Certainly the framework for all this stuff is a global pandemic that has pushed a lot of systems to the edge, including education and educators. And so I understand this is in a strange context, but I think moving forward, I hope that Tubman can reach a point where consistent communication goes out to parents about what's happening in the school, beyond the thank you. Behind the mechanics that were like linked to notifications of COVID and that kind of thing. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Matt. Let's see, I will try Erin Studenka again. I do not see her on the list of participants. Mindy Nedwick. Mindy, if you're on the call. Gia Super. Gia.
Hi, I'm here. A lot of parents have said so many wonderful things, and I want to acknowledge that. And I want to say that, just add a little personal piece as a parent of a child with disabilities who's facing down, potentially a number of her supporters no longer being at the school. And I just want to say I'm here with a heavy heart, because this is the first year that we've really felt sort of welcomed by the administration. And so it's hard to be here talking about this and hearing what people have to say, because it's been better for us in a lot of ways. And at the same time, it's very difficult to see the number of people who are walking away from our school, and to know that for myself and my family and families like mine, it's not as easy for us to take and just pick up and move to a private school and pick up and move to the suburbs and remake ourselves somewhere else. So I just want to say it's, we can't lose our whole staff. And I worked at Inter-American when most of the staff walked one year, and it's incredibly difficult to rebuild a school like that. So I just think we need to be very clear that, we all need to work together to keep this school together, and we need to do what it takes to do that. and I want this to be the best inclusion school in the city. And I think we could be a model for that. And I don't want to lose all the people who have some idea how to do that. And that doesn't mean that everybody's perfect. And I can tell you right now, we've had our share of very bad experiences. But we've had a lot of good experiences too. My daughter is doing better than anyone I know with her level of disability. And that has something to do with who works here. And so I wasn't planning on crying, but I have to tell you, we need to keep it together. And I appreciate everyone who's worked with her. And I appreciate the positivity of Principal Gibson. So I don't know how to fix this, but we can't let this school fall apart because kids like mine don't have anywhere to go right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Gia. I see Aaron Studenka is back on the call. Aaron, if you wanted to speak.
I was going to yield. Thank you. Sorry.
Oh, thank you, Aaron. No problem. Okay, our final public participant is Emily Holbert. Emily.
Yes, I'm also reading a letter on behalf of a colleague. And I apologize in advance. I have 2 young children, as most people know, because I was on leave this school year and I've told them to be quiet, but we'll see. As most in our community are aware, Ms. Gibson has been faced with unforeseen and incredibly difficult hardships outside of work this year. Being a new principal, feeling overwhelmed and unable to respond to all work obligations has been expected and met with compassion and understanding from the Tubman staff. With that understanding, strong teams are already in place, teacher leaders willing to put more on their plates, and an overall school that runs quite smoothly. It should have been almost easy for Principal Gibson to make it through this year despite hardships, yet somehow she managed to foster levels of turmoil and negativity that seem unbearable. We are nearly to the end of the year and has been made sadly and abundantly clear through her presence and interactions that there is a cycle of destruction she is unable to break, and this stems purely from Ms. Gibson and her leadership style. The interview with Ms. Gibson was so promising. Our staff was very much looking forward to a fresh start after having a leader that didn't quite value equity or fairness behind closed doors. A leader who was about building relationships and teams was long awaited. She said everything we needed to hear, yet the lack of forming relationships was quite contrary. Tearing down of staff has adversely impacted every aspect of our school, from students and staff to parents. When a leader at our school chooses not to hear your concerns, there is danger. When a leader at a school chooses to cut you down in front of others or isolate conversations behind closed doors, there is no trust. When a leader at a school manipulates and lies, there is hurt and confusion. Schools are supposed to be a warm and safe place, and for too many at our school this year, that is not the case. Tubman is in turmoil, and granting grace due to repetitive excuses of hardship isn't going to fix this. The fundamental and core issues lie with her presence and actions, not lack thereof.
Thank you, Emily. Matt, that concludes our public participation for tonight. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for all of those who spoke in public comment section. Thank you for sharing your words. Thank you for your time and speaking. We hear you. So with that said,
I'm sorry,
I will
Sarah.
open the floor.
I just need to say something right quick, please,
Yep,
Sarah.
go ahead.
In the spirit of transparency, I think it's a bit unfair for people to be able to submit statements anonymously. When people sign up for public participation, their information has to be provided. That's what we expect as a parent community. And I think it's a bit unfair to unload some very serious accusations without taking accountability for those accusations. So I have extreme concern with that. I'm not saying that the comments should not be, but I think if this is really about resolution and coming together, that Principal Gibson can only answer to accusations that she knows where they're coming from. because she has to look at her own behavior and her own exchange with the people making accusations. And so I think that very unfair. And I'm not sure that it is in alignment with the rules of public participation. I know statements can be read, but I'm not sure about the anonymity.
I will respond to that. I think I know, as far as the statement I read, I know who wrote it. I'm sure this was the case for other LSC members who read. I chose not to divulge who wrote it since one of the main topics that has come up multiple times this evening is fear of retaliation. I honor and respect my colleagues. I care about them. And so I know who wrote it. I can assure you, these are current staff members. I chose not to divulge who they are. This was not anonymous. And as per our bylaws, I believe we followed everything by the rule. It says it has to, that we have to know the person saying it, who wrote it, and I believe this is the case. If that was not the case for anyone who received a statement, then I get that would not be okay. But again, when a major topic and concern is fear of retaliation, I do think it is within our rights to withhold publicly who wrote these statements. Thank you.
I would like to just also say to Nick, I think this is not how we would have ideally done it. We were reaching, I think a lot of us have been talking to staff members for about the last 2 to 3 months pretty consistently and feeling like we knew why staff were leaving, and that we needed to figure out how to have a real discussion about what the staff members who were leaving felt. And so all of the letters that we have read today, multiple, at least 2, if not 3 LSC board members have made sure that those were the feelings and thoughts of that staff member and verified that this is not just someone writing something that they're not standing behind. They talked to multiple ones of us and said, this is how I feel, this is my statement, so that we would feel confident. I would not have read a letter that I did not know was written by someone that I'd talked to about it, and that other people have verified that this is actually their intent to be read, and that it was fear of retaliation. We had multiple people who were actually going to go on record yesterday and got very afraid today and felt like there could be consequences that they were not ready for.
And, you know, let me just say, I don't doubt the authenticity of where the statements came from. I'm just talking about fairness of being able to address an accusation.
All right, thank you. Any other comments from the LSC before we move on into the agenda, to the next agenda item?
I would like to make a comment. I would like to first thank each of you for taking time to share your concerns, not only with me, but with the other members of the LSC, which I will take time to reflect on over these next few weeks. But please know, just because some things are being said does not mean that they are true. I am not going to take a defensive role. I'm looking for avenues to work collaboratively, as one of the parents mentioned, with our staff, with our families, and our students to move this school forward and be the Tubman we know it can be. Our school motto is, we change the narrative and write our own story. And I see this as an opportunity for all of us to work collaboratively together to move our school forward. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you. Any additional comments? All right, thank you. And we'll
I'm
move.
sorry, Sarah. This has nothing to do with the meeting, but I'm going to have to turn my camera off for a bit because I'm going to have to multitask. So I just wanted to let everyone know that I'm still here.
Thank you, Tina. All right. So let's move into the next agenda item, which is the schools, talking about the school's current allocation of teaching resources and other certified and uncertified staff as it is able to adequately support instructional objectives or school programs. When we think about and reflect upon what has been shared in the public participant section, it has been noted that teachers are leaving the school en masse, and the fact that they're leaving, it does speak volumes to where the state of the school is at. And I've heard quite a number of comments as it related to the school culture and climate. Recognizing that the numbers that have been shared, these are significant numbers, and also recognizing what this means in terms of current coverage for students and the supports they're getting, as well as what this looks like in the future for the next school year. It's a concern. It's a concern. And so really, my question really comes from the space of, how do we get that sense of that school culture and climate? I know that teachers and students and families completed the school culture and climate survey, and know that that survey does come out earlier, actually comes out in June, and would ask that if that data can be shared with the LSC so we can get a pulse of what our current state of the school culture and climate is earlier than as opposed to later. So I wanted to kind of get a sense of the possibility of being able to get that data so we can truly get a sense of where we're at as it relates to school culture and climate. Could that be shared at our next LSC meeting, that data? And so with that said, I guess I will open the floor to a motion. I'm sorry, I won't open the floor to a motion, but I just wanted to ask that question. Yeah, go ahead, Principal Gibson.
So it seems like there's an assumption being made that people are leaving because of school culture and climate. So I like an opportunity to address the rumors and the assumptions in a positive way. I'm not quite sure where the number 13 came from. I don't know where that number came from. I do not have knowledge of 13 people leaving, but I can say this. We do have multiple staff members leaving, and this is a trend that is being experienced, not just at Tubman. This is things that we see on the district level and as well as on the state level. And we're experiencing it across our city with people leaving. There are numerous reasons because of confidentiality. I'm not allowed to share those reasons, but our teachers are sharing it in their upcoming newsletters of why they are leaving. Some people are leaving because of their own family reasons or moving. They're leaving because of COVID, their career changing. Our teachers are different from administrators. They are not tied to a contract. They can leave at any time. They can resign at any time. So I wanted to make sure that that's understood. They can transfer, they can go to other districts. It is not always an indication that something is wrong at the school level. Right now, I see a window of opportunity for us as a school. Some of the things that we're doing is we're advertising, we're gonna interview, we have plans to hire the best teachers for the subjects that we have open. We do have a plan that is forthcoming that includes a hiring team, and that is a one-pager that really explains what steps we will be taking as well as a timeline for hiring. And this is a new process that we hope to have. We can't share it right now because we'd like to share it with our staff first, get their input, revise it, and then we will be sharing it forthcoming.
I mean, I will say that in the public comments that have been shared, and albeit there have been some expressed concerns that have been shared, notably by teachers as it relates to school culture and climate. Some things that have been shared have been related to, being in a supportive space, the communication style. So there is, has been shared that there is some issues as it relates to the school culture and climate. And so once again, the question is there a possibility that we can kind of get some data points as it relates to what the current state of the school culture and climate is sooner than later.
So I'd like to respond that the culture and the 5 Essential Survey, that data doesn't come to us to July, and our next meeting is on June 1st.
Mr. Hall?
Thank you, Sarah. So Principal Gibson, I'm glad to hear about the hiring committee. I remember you had talked about that at the last LSC meeting, and I'm excited to see what that's going to look like. So that means, if I understand it right, so no one for next year yet has been hired, right? Because we haven't yet seen the new, like the hiring committee, or have new hires already been done prior to this hiring committee template, or whatever the word I'm looking for, has been distributed and approved?
So that's a wonderful question. So currently, CPS does not have a requirement for administrators to have a hiring committee. Since we've been here as an administrative team, we have used a hiring committee made up of various people, and we have, as a hiring committee or as an administrator, hire people for next year. But moving forward and trying to be very transparent, we will be eliciting feedback and input from our staff with the hiring protocol, starting with our HEART team. And one of our LSC members had recently participated as a member of our hiring team on one of our most recent hires.
So to follow up to that, and I'm glad you mentioned one of the LSC members had participated in a hiring team. So I guess I was confused earlier in the meeting by the comment that staffing is not under LSC purview. That seems to contradict having LSC members on the interview team if staffing is not a LSC purview.
A principal can invite any member to be part of the hiring team. I have had the chief on as part of my hiring team. They can have any delegate as far as supporting a hiring team. And one thing we're trying to do here moving forward is to include more stakeholders. We would like more input with the hiring, but the final decision to hire staff is with the principal. But we would like to have input. We would like it to be a collaborative process. I would just ask that you please wait till later on this week when we share that with the staff. And then as soon as we get staff's input, it'll be forthcoming. We will share it with our community.
Thank you.
I see Kate and then Lori.
So I just want to, so can you make a commitment that like there will be a team that will be doing the interviews and the hiring process? Because I've heard a lot of teachers being concerned that, you know, if they teach and their team teacher is going to be hired and they're worried that they will not have input into who's hired into that position. So I understand you've always told us that the plan was to have a collaborative approach and to have a team doing it, but I know there's something coming out this week that you're going to talk about, but I feel like we got commitments in the past that it would be a team process, and that there have been interviews that have happened thus far that have not been collaborative with teachers. And so can we get a commitment that moving forward, that there will be a team that interviews and that there will be input from the other teachers that will be on the team for new hires?
So Kate, there is a commitment to include multiple stakeholders. It depends on what position we're hiring for, whether it's a teacher or staff position, but that is forthcoming. I would just say that we would like the staff to see it first, you know, to gather their input and their feedback. But we are including staff as well as teachers, especially if it's a teaching team. We've had an interview where we've included 2 of our teachers to hire one of our newest diverse learner teachers, and they participated as part of that team.
Okay. And, Lori, and then I see Mac. Lori, you're on mute.
I did such a good job of clicking the wrong button. I do want to say that it is in the LSC handbook that the LSC makes recommendations to the principal on new teacher hires. So that is part of our purview of things that we can do. And so you just answered the question, will other grade band members be included? But I would like, I know you can't tell us names or anything, but how many teachers have you hired on your own, like in the last 2 months without this committee? How many positions have been filled before the teachers are being consulted and this new plan is being put into place?
Hi, Lori. As far as having a hiring team, there has been, and which I will share, there has been one teacher that has been hired without having the whole hiring team participate. And that is because of multiple reasons, which I won't go into, but some of them is time constraints dealing with COVID and then being miscommunicated of what staff was in the building at the time of the interview. But going forward, we'd like to have a clear protocol so it is very transparent of what the process is. And again, it will be forthcoming.
So just, I'm sorry, jump in. Go ahead, Mac.
Thanks, Tina. So we had heard some numbers about, 13 staff were leaving, 14 staff were leaving. Principal Gibson, you said you weren't familiar with those numbers. Do you have an estimate for the staff departures that we can expect at the end of this year?
Yes, currently I have 11 staff members that I'm aware of are leaving. Some due to various reasons of moving out the district, that part I can share, or that they are resigning or retirement. The staff members will be sharing with families in their newsletters and communications their reason that they are leaving over the next coming weeks, and 2 staff members recently shared. I just cannot disclose that confidential information. So I encourage you guys to really look into that because there are different reasons, and the reasons that many of the people are leaving are not what's truly being communicated.
Tina, and then I see Kate and Emily.
Principal Gibson, you mentioned that there was one instance where you hired without additional people on the interviewing, and just how many positions have you hired using a collaborative effort with staff or teacher input?
Every position besides that one, and that was because of crunch time.
And how many is that? Do you know how many that is?
Let's see. I don't know that number off the top of my head, but I know it's probably up to about 6 to 8 staff members.
Thank you.
Kate.
I just wanted to say that something that I've heard from staff members is that, yes, there are some people who are leaving the state, there are some people who are leaving the city, but I think one of the questions to ask is why everyone this year? I think that a lot of the teachers that I've heard that are leaving the state or leaving the city, it was anytime, like this is something that we're going to do eventually. And so for me, even though they are leaving the state or leaving the city, it is concerning to me that everyone chose this year to be the year that they needed to leave. And I've heard from some people, they don't feel like there's much keeping them here. And so it was an easy year to make the decision to make that long-term plan this year. And so students, I think teachers will be sharing reasons why they're leaving, but I think teachers want to be gracious and want to be collaborative and want to leave on good terms. And so I do think that we need to look further as to why there's so many people leaving this one year. And I do think when I look at the numbers that from people I've talked to myself, it's about 10 of the 29 homeroom teachers or co-teachers. And so a third of kind of that anchor staff is going to not be there next year. And that's best case scenario. That's the numbers we know of right now. And I fear that those numbers will go up if teachers are not seeing that things will be different.
So Kate, I just want to thank you for that comment. And just to let you know, CPS had an early resignation policy where staff would get a stipend if they resign early and let the district know. All of the members who we know that are leaving, we've met and had like those conversations with them and have had a conversation that they share with us. But again, I can't share that information due to confidentiality. We know that COVID is one of the main reasons. But again, I see this as a window of opportunity for us to work collaboratively to interview and get the best teachers for the open positions so we can continue to move our school forward and make it a more inclusive and safe environment for everyone. And I welcome support, feedback, and suggestions. And I would just like to say, I think having a protocol in place for our hiring team is our first step, and then continuing to advertise and using our community partners, such as the University of DePaul, who we have partnerships and have had student teachers with, and partners sharing with our district supports that we have in place to fill these positions with the best candidates possible.
I think Emily is next, and Lori, I apologize if I missed you, but we'll do Emily and Lori and then Cindy.
Emily, you're muted.
Oh, sorry. Haven't done this in a while. I think it was just a clarification. The number 14, it sounded like it maybe came from the 11 that you mentioned, Principal Gibson, and 3 that previously left. Is that right? No.
No, Emily, I can jump in. So I think the number 13 is the one, Mac, you're talking about the one that was in the letter that I read, right? So the 13 departures are the 11 who are leaving of their own will, and the 2 clinicians who have been asked not to come back.
Okay, thank
you. So that is how we got to the 13 leaving.
Right. And a few that had already left prior. And I know that's all for different reasons, but, and then just another thing, Principal Gibson is curious about that you're unable to disclose who's leaving and why, but I didn't know then our teachers then required to disclose. You said that they'd be sharing that in their newsletters, and I know that they personally, if they want to, they can, but some colleagues of mine had asked if, that that's something that they have to disclose, that they don't have to disclose. And so I'm clarifying that they don't have to disclose why they're leaving.
You're absolutely right, Emily. They do not have to, but some have already started disclosing, and that's the part I was sharing. And they're doing their communication to their families on their own. That is up to their will. And I encourage our council as well as parents who are concerned, have conversations and reach out to the teachers, and then you will know why they're leaving if they feel like disclosing it. But again, due to confidentiality, and because I am trying to have a positive culture and build a culture here, I cannot disclose that information at any cost.
Lori and then Cindy and Nick.
I have a few things. I do feel obligated to say that if we listened clearly to the letters that were read by especially Mr. Hall, Ms. Hilbert, I think it's asking a lot to assume that teachers would tell you why they are leaving. That there is a lot, and there is a reason that so many of these statements were anonymous. I don't think that teachers are going to come out into a newsletter. I'm very proud of them, and I feel that they are very brave for the ones who have reached out to myself and other members of the LSC. And to share that with, because I think this was the venue where they were telling parents why they're leaving. And of course, there are people who are retiring. Of course, there's always a leave, but there does seem to be a lot. Are you doing exit interviews? Also, can we address why some of our clinicians were reassigned by you, which means they did not decide to retire or move out of state, but were asked to leave specifically by you? And we'll talk more about that, how it will affect our diverse learner team.
So, Lori, thank you for your comments and your questions. As far as exit interviews, I don't know if you heard me, but our staff have met with us who are leaving. We've already had a meeting with them already. And then some of them I've asked for a follow-up meeting to get feedback from them. Far as the clinicians, I don't know where you're getting that information, so I want to share this. As principal, I retain the right to give feedback on our related service providers, but they are not removed from me by me. This is a district decision, and at any point, a related provider can decide that they also don't want to stay at the school and be reassigned. They have that right. People we bring on may be just as good as a fit for our school or even better, but we are working to ensure that the best team is built to help move the school forward. And that's all I can share because I can't really go into confidential information.
Understood. Lori, did you have a follow-up? You're on mute.
Sorry, I do want to follow up. So you are stating for the record that you did not ask any of our service providers to be reassigned, that you did not request that they be removed from our school.
I shared that as a principal, I retain the right to give feedback on our service providers. The decision is made by the district and their managers of where they reassign them or what have you, or at any time our service providers can decide that they do not want to.
That's great. But so if I go tomorrow, I'm sorry, this is an issue that is so dear to my heart and to the heart of my children. If I go tomorrow to the clinician supervisors and say, hey, we are keeping, I'm going to say it, we're keeping our social worker, we're keeping our psychiatrist. If I go to them and say that, they're going to say, great, we'll talk to Principal Gibson tomorrow and make sure that they are not reassigned.
I'm going to say one more time, as principal, I have the right to give feedback on our service providers. I'm not going to go into detail. The service providers also have a right to decide not to return to the school. I'm working collaboratively to build a team that supports the school, the mission and vision of the school, supports the administrators, and I have to make decisions that's best for our students and our families as well. I have given feedback, and as far as I can say, far as the clinician team.
Okay. Cindy and then Nick. Cindy, you're on mute.
Okay, so Principal Gibson, you've had a lot of information in terms of mobility in the district and at the school level, and knowing that you could sort of count on teachers shifting, moving, having known that for this long and having a clear vision of what's going on in your school, how is it that we do not have the hiring team already in place, ready to go?
So Cindy, I don't know if you heard, but we have had a hiring team on every interview, with the exception of one. We've had a hiring team on every interview. But what we are saying is, as far as I know, Tubman has not had a set protocol, like a one-pager. So we're trying to create that so people don't feel like they're not being included or like their voices do not count. We want to have something in writing. And as far as I know, I haven't seen anything since I've been here. We have been engaging in that practice, but we want to put it in writing and have a protocol so there are no questions, there are no misconceptions, and it's clear and it's concise protocol of what we will do for hiring moving forward. And that is forthcoming.
Okay, I guess what I'm wondering is, why is it still forthcoming? If it's going to be concise and it's going to be a one-pager, what is the holdup?
So there is no holdup. We just, when there was an issue with one person being hired without the team and a concern was brought up, by our staff. We want to have transparency. This was just brought up last week to us. So we've already acted quickly to work on a protocol. And the only thing, as I shared earlier, we want to share it with the staff first to get their input. We're starting with our heart team first and then our other staff members and sharing it out.
Okay, Nick.
So I think this is a similar point as Cindy's. I guess, and I know for this section, we're talking about, making sure we have enough staff to adequately support our instructional objectives. I am very concerned by the lack of urgency I am hearing right now. We have 13 or whatever, let's say 11, whatever it is, let's say 11 to 13 new positions to fill in the next 8 weeks. August 15th, we're all back in school, teachers are. I'm very, very concerned. We had one special education teacher leave earlier this year. To replace that one special education teacher took almost 2 months. I believe it was 6 weeks. If it took 6 weeks for one position, I am extremely concerned about this. So I'm glad to hear about this hiring committee, but again, to echo what Cindy said, I'm not, why wasn't this in place earlier? I do know several staff members who have been providing feedback, wanting to be part of committees since just as soon as they heard some teachers were leaving. This is not a surprise to the staff or the administration that a large number of teachers are leaving. And yes, some of it is out of our hands. People leave, people move, people retire. But if we know this was happening, why not the sense of urgency? I just don't get it.
So thank you, Nick, for your questions and your comments. One, there's a couple of things I'd like to address that may be miscommunication. We don't have 11 positions open right now. So we were made aware of 11. 2 we were made of most recently, just a week ago. We have 4 teacher positions, 2 diverse learner positions, and we have 1 new position that we created with the budget, which is restorative practice. Of those 4 teacher positions, we were just recently made aware of 2 people leaving. As far as the 6 weeks for 1 staff member, we met it as a hiring team, and a hiring team wanted to wait because that person transferred when it was not the administrative transfer time. So we had to wait on permission from her principal to release her, and we gave her adequate time to interview and try to fill that position before the person came over to our school. So just wanted to clear that information up for you.
All right, and I'm going to jump in real quick just for point of clarity. What I'm hearing is there has been some type of committee in play for one hire. That protocol wasn't followed, and now we're going to put that protocol in writing. Am I hearing that correctly?
We're putting a hiring protocol, yes, in writing.
Okay, Kate? Kate, you're on mute.
I want to echo the concern about the sense of urgency. I think the idea that this will be a normal hiring year and we'll be easily able to find a lot of people who are going to be fantastic and great and wonderful fits for the school. This is going to be an incredible, every principal I talk to is terrified because they do not know how they're going to fill all these seats, that there's so many people leaving everywhere, and that there is a lot of movement because there's a lot of options for people if they are looking at positions. So trying to find anyone with experience is going to be a real challenge. And so I feel like in past years when we've known that we had some positions open, I feel like almost always they were filled by mid-May. and it was a done deal. Usually we'd have the teachers coming in and doing a couple of sessions with the person that they'd be replacing to kind of get an idea of the school and things like that. And I don't feel like we're anywhere close to that with a much larger number of positions. And so I am concerned that there doesn't seem to be the urgency, and the school's almost going to be out of session soon. And I think that the things are too reactive as opposed to proactive on this. I mean, I also I think that we need to be looking at the things that are the biggest risk to our school and then making sure that we're actively moving forward on those. And I'm not hearing what I wanted to hear today in terms of here is our plan for hiring, and we have all these, we posted all these positions, we're publicizing it everywhere, and we have 10 interviews set up for next week. That would have been reassuring to me, and I'm not really hearing that because it seems like we're still in the beginning stages. And it also gets really hard to hire people with a team when everyone's out on summer break and teachers are getting the break that they all desperately need this year. So I have concerns about that. And I just feel like this is, there's a couple of other things that have happened this year that it seems like we are caught flat-footed for, just in terms of recruitment of teachers we're talking about here, but like in terms of retention and recruitment of future students as well. Things were not ready to go when things happened. And I think that it's where all of us feel like there's a sense of urgency. I'm not feeling like there's that response.
So thank you, Kate, for your comment. I will reflect on that feedback. I really appreciate that. I do want to share, you might not have heard me, but I did say we've advertised these positions. And we're in the process of making sure we hire the best teachers for the subject. So these positions are posted, and we have been taking actions each and every week and working with human resources as well as district members. There is a sense of urgency, but we also want to make sure we include stakeholders, and I hope to give an update at the June 1st meeting.
Okay, Lori?
You're muted, Lori.
I turn off that little handprint. That's why. Okay. I can't help but believe that the urgency is based more on this meeting than on proactive looking forward. I do also want to say, again, this is very near and dear to my heart. I have been working with IEPs for over 10 years for my children in CPS, and I understand the relationship between clinicians and the principals. I have never heard of a principal being asked feedback, but I do know that principals can request to have them removed. I feel like I'm on a TV show. I have the email right here. They did not request to leave. Members of our clinicians team were asked to be removed from the school by you. I have the email. It has been given to me not anonymously, but our clinicians are some of the best. And there are parents in this room who have worked with multiple clinicians and have worked with multiple teams. And the Tubman team for inclusion is amazing. The case holders, when we are sending out multiple emails every day from CPS about how important mental health is, and to weaken a really strong team for I don't know what reason, and I know you won't tell me, but I do want to say that you asked them to be removed. They did not request to leave. I have the email. So I'm sorry, but our clinicians removing that just seems to me like sinking our own ship, like we're firing cannons in, because our diverse learner population is very high. More are coming in, and we know that because we had an excellent reputation for inclusion and special education and how our families and our classmates treated those children. And our case managers and our diverse learner teachers were a huge part of that. And to see that systematically dismantled is very upsetting to me.
Emily?
Just curious again from my own knowledge and from some other staff members asking on their behalf, how were the positions being advertised, and when were they posted on Taleo? If you're able to disclose that information.
So there is a couple of things. Some of the positions that we knew about were posted in April. Administrators were told when we went through the budget and the SO, the school organizational, with the district, we were told that our HR business partners would post the positions. We've reached out, we created tickets, and then we posted some additional positions that we were made aware of last week. There is some double positions posted. We have been working with School Support Center today to try to get some corrections made. So it's like we put in a request, it wasn't posted, then we were able to post on our own, we posted, and then it was double posted. So we are working to clear that up. We were made aware of that as early as yesterday, and we've been working today to clear that up.
Principal Gibson, can you speak a little bit on just going back to the hiring practice and the protocol? As a part of that, does that include the committee being able to see in practice some type of observational kind of notation of that interviewee? Do we, or is there a part of it, whatever their role is, if it's a you know, whatever kind of teacher that is, does part of that interviewing process include being able to see them in practice with what they're doing, if they're a teacher, if they're a counselor, et cetera? Is that embedded in the protocol?
Yes, it is. So it's in draft, and it's either a sample classroom video of them teaching is one example of something. Another thing is if it's for a diverse learner, them writing a section of section 7 of the IEP, or it could be someone coming in asked to teach in a classroom. So that's still in draft, and I again just ask you to wait to the June 1st meeting where I can share more information after I've shared and got input from our staff, but I did want to kind of answer that.
Okay, and then another quick question is, as it relates to budget, do you foresee adjustments that we currently need to make as it relates to budget, or even in the next school year as it relates to budget, given, you know, where we're at in our staffing? And I'll pause there. Just got one last question, but I'll pause there.
Okay, as far as budget, the budget's pretty much set right now, but the budget can change if someone resigns, or if we hire, or if our enrollment goes up. Those are things that can impact the budget.
Okay, and so it sounds like we have had some resignations within fairly recently. So it sounds like there is a budget impact, correct?
So with the resignation, that's a position that is what we call, it's an anticipated open position for next year.
Okay. And, you know, we heard a lot as it relates to teachers responding to culture and climate. So as far as what I'm hearing, I mean, what's your sense of your assessment of the school's current state of culture and climate? You know, are there, you know, things that have been raised that you would agree or disagree with? I mean, I just kind of getting a curiosity in terms of your perspective on the current state of the school's culture and climate.
I never want to say anything negative. I want to work, I'm looking at this as an opportunity for us to move forward. So I'm looking, I'm listening, I'm taking in the feedback and thinking of ways where I can work collaboratively with the staff, with our families, to improve on the school overall culture and staff admin culture. So I'm willing to continue to work toward it. I need the staff to join me and our families to support me so we can move forward. I'm waiting on getting the data from the 5 essentials and then coming up with some actionable steps. But I am confident that this is something we will continue to work on, and we have to work together to move the school forward. I think one of our parents said it during public participation. It takes the support of administrators and the staff and families working together to create a positive culture and climate for our students. And I think that's going to be key for all stakeholders to work collaboratively together, to use those, continue to build those relationships and have open door policies. and utilizing those open door policies. I hear a lot about transparency. I'm just concerned, it goes both ways, and I want to work so that it's transparent when there's issues, so we can work together to resolve them so they don't escalate or they don't build up.
Okay, I'm cognizant of time. I do want to move on to the next agenda item.
There's a couple people with their hands up. I don't know if you.
I see Cindy, Cindy's Lori, and then I see Tina. And then we'll move on to the next agenda item.
Is it me or Cindy?
Cindy, you had your hand raised, you lowered it.
Yeah, I just really quick, for the staff person that was hired without a hiring team, was that, where and when was that position posted?
That position was requested to be posted when we know the position would have been vacated, but they did not get around to posting it, as far as I know, until last week. But we knew that was like one of the resignations, so we already had been receiving resumes from multiple teachers, getting referrals from other principals because it was an urgency for hiring. The person that we hired, we had one interview prior to the second interview. During the second interview, I don't know if you remember, but we had a lot of issues going on at the school. We had a lot of issues with COVID that happened, and also with me having to go in and teach a classroom through the staff shortage. So at the end of the day, when I tried to assemble the hiring team, most of the people had left already. But again, that was a mistake on my part. I take accountability. I should have sent out invites so the people would have known ahead of time. But that's why I'm trying to have a one-page protocol in place so mistakes like that don't happen again. It was not done maliciously. And I do apologize that I didn't have a whole hiring team at the time, but there was a sense of urgency to try to interview this teacher during the transfer period, because it was only 2 days left in between the transfer window where they didn't need the admin support. On every other interview, we've always had a hiring team.
Lori and then Tina?
I did it correctly this time. So I want to talk about what you said, because I was listening to what you said about collaboratively, and that you want to work collaboratively with the staff and the parents. But I do feel that, and I know Cindy Watola can talk to this as well. Sorry to bring you up. There have been numerous throughout the year. I feel like there were so many parents and committee members and LSC members who were trying to give grace and were trying to work collaboratively and tried so very hard, and were either met with statements that, oh, I promise to do better in the future, or no response whatsoever. And I know that it's no surprise that we've had issues with no response coming from your office when we send emails. What should we believe that now you're going to all of a sudden be collaboratively working with parents, when we have heard so many statements in public participation and through our own feedback that you are not working with us collaboratively? We are at a crisis point, and we're at the end of the year, and there seems like there's so many different things. Why should we believe that now we are going to see the collaboration that was promised to us when we were doing your interviews last summer?
I will say this, Lori, I'm thinking of ways to collaboratively move forward. There's multiple avenues where I have collaborated with families. I have principal conversation monthly as an avenue to collaborate with families. Families have requested, even from our 5th grade team, to meet with me. I've responded to them at 11 something at night and set up meetings the very next day. So it is just something that I am continuously working on and continually trying to improve upon. But I will take your feedback and use it to help continuously move our school forward. Thank you.
Tina? Tina, you might be on mute.
Geez, sorry guys. As I'm listening to these exchanges and the questions and the concerns, I want I'm hopeful we can, after we hear these concerns and everything, center on resolution. And so that being said, I would ask the staff to, I don't know if meet or continue the discussion and come up with what you need to move forward and establish trust. And so that we're all moving together transparently. And I'm not saying that you necessarily have to share it with the LSC, but I'm hopeful that those conversations happen with staff and Principal Gibson and any third party who needs to be involved to make both parties feel like they will be heard and they come to a mutual agreement on how to address these issues. I don't want this to be a dumping ground and then it's left here. If we are going to move forward, then both parties need to be involved in resolution. And if something is lacking, parties need to let the administration know what is needed to move forward.
Okay, we are going to move into the next agenda item. And I see folks have their hands raised, and I feel that as we continue these conversations, we'll have that chance to be able to say what we need to say as we move forward in the discussion. Thank you. The next agenda item that we have here is really connected to teaching and support staffing crisis, specifically as it relates to Tubman's diverse learners. And I believe that the point of issue that we're really looking at here is, there has been shifts and changes as it relates to supports for our diverse learners, and impending shifts and changes as it relates to our diverse learners for next year. And I'm kind of thinking through about the fifth grade, right? Couple questions here and concerns upon the table is, communication to families, and how is this change going to impact students? And then also, what is that strategy in play for diverse learners currently, and as well as for next year? And then most importantly, how can we ensure the safety and security of diverse learners in light of what we heard in public comment and what has been shared openly about an open investigation of LSC staff?
The safety and well-being of all our students is our top priority. However, I cannot disclose or discuss any open investigations, but our priority is to continue to keep our students safe and provide a safe environment for them.
Okay, so the ultimate is the how, right? What's the communication and what's the strategy as it relates to supports for diverse learners, specifically around this issue, but also related to the fact that we're making some pretty, that we're shifting kind of that clinician support.
So as it's related to our diverse learners, the district has to do their investigation. It's out of the school hand. But as it relates to service providers, we've already been assigned service providers for next year. It came out on May 16th, our service providers for the school.
Okay.
So the feedback that I've heard from parents who were really upset when they found out that the clinicians the clinician team that they were used to is not be coming back next year was that they felt like they were losing a lot of diverse learner teachers, and that the clinician group was a pretty solid group that they felt comfortable with and that their children felt comfortable with. And so a lot of people were confused and upset and felt like if there was a reason why these clinicians were not coming back, that some kind of communication from administration saying there's going to be a change next year, but we already have new people assigned, and we're going to have a seamless transition to our new clinicians, and I've talked with our team, and we figured out how we're going to team build and make sure that we work as well next year as we do this year. Like all of those things that people need to know is being worked on. But from what I heard when the assignments were made, like you said, on May 16th, there was so much sadness and frustration, and other members who are going to be, that we thought were going to be a part of the team next year that were planning on staying, feeling like they didn't know how to go from here to start over with a new team and didn't know how they would provide the services for our diverse learners with such an upheaval. And I think that I have no idea why people were not asked back or what those decisions were. But the main piece of it for me is the communication piece and the planning. And with such chaos and it was the chaos of the finding it out and what it did and how many calls I got from people crying about what this meant for their child, and that what this may mean for the rest of the clinician team that is still assigned at our school. It was that piece that was most concerning to me, is that there didn't seem to be a plan in place that made people feel comfortable, or like that this was being done for a reason with a purpose. And so when people talk about the toxic culture or the fear or whatever, it added to all of those feelings from teachers, and lots of people who hadn't reached out to me before the 16th, even when they were not diverse learner teachers or on that team, reached out to me and said, this is chaos. This can't go on. What is happening? We took the one part of the diverse learner experience that was solid moving into next year when there's so much upheaval, and now that's been blown up and we have no idea where it's going. So I do think, I'm aware you can't talk about the reasons for it, but I do think as a principal under the CIWP, when we talk about communication and we talk about strategy and we talk about making sure parents feel reassured and that there's a plan for their child, that part I think you have to answer to, because that part I think was the most destructive part of it. The actual them not coming back, I think the staff and the parents could have been okay with if there had been communication or planning, and it was that lack that caused so much pain and sadness that really changed a lot of things for a lot of people on that day. And that's what I would like us to be talking a little bit more about.
Thank you so much, Kate, for really wholeheartedly sharing that feedback. I do think there's some other layers to this. I did not communicate anybody's information on May 16th that was done at the district level. As an administrator, I had no idea that that information was coming out on the 16th. I was not here. I didn't know who would be assigned where. So I just want to share that. That came out from the Director of Related Services on that date. Right now, I'm working to find a way to continue to build our team and work with our staff and have a plan for next year to ensure that our diverse learners have the best people supporting them.
Nick, and then Lori, and then Cindy.
So to piggyback on Kate's point, I think, especially we are talking about the clinicians the most. This is, part of our diverse learners issue. Again, the lack of communication, it took everyone by surprise. And I mean, no one in the building knew it was going to happen. As you mentioned, Principal Gibson, you were not there on that day, and I have rarely seen our school building in such chaos just because no one could understand it. We all work with these two clinicians. Every teacher, we have a high diverse learner population. We are going to them for referrals, for advice, to collaborate with them. And we did not understand why they were not coming back. Again, it's just communication. Nothing was communicated to staff. I can't believe the district would not have informed the principal that 2 of their clinicians were not coming back. Maybe that is the case. I don't know. And it's just concerning to me. Tina, you mentioned resolution. I'm all about resolution. Unfortunately, tonight, what I'm seeing is we're struggling to get clear answers on many topics, just with the clinicians. We have, I know for a fact, having talked to both clinicians, Lori has mentioned, they did not request to leave. The district did not just remove them for nothing. If principals don't have the power to remove them, it is based on the feedback. And again, I know you maybe can't go into details, but there is therefore a disconnect. If the feedback about 2 of our most highly regarded colleagues and respected is that they need to go, then I do not understand how that is building our team. I think a lot of it was we knew how many teachers were leaving of their own will, and now to find 2 staff members are leaving not of their will, that really, honestly, set that entire building into chaos on that day. And again, it's about, getting resolutions. I don't get clear answers right now. I'm still confused about what happened with that interview. And I know a lot of us have talked about it. We're moving on, but I don't get why someone was interviewed on their own because the staff didn't know about it until just before the interview. That makes no sense to me.
I first want to say what Kate said. Well, maybe they all would have been okay if we'd been communicated with. No, I had to control myself from marching into the office with my 3 tearful children to explain why this was so bad. If we were just mobilizing on this one issue, it would be a very different case. And I agree with Nick, we are not getting answers. We are getting the same comments over and over and over again instead of direct answers. And I feel like we are coming with distinct documentation. I know for a fact, I have the email. I don't think that you knew that the clinicians were going to find out on the 16th. I think that was the problem. I am guessing, but I think that you were unprepared for that notification to go out. And I feel bad for everybody who was left in the building to pick up those pieces, because that was an earth shaker. I had to come to school for an unrelated reason. And the amount of teachers who hugged me in tears over clinicians, they are the most diverse learners, everybody. But here's the thing I want to make clear to everybody on this call, including the people from CPS. I see you. Thank you for coming. I want to say that the social worker in particular doesn't just see our kids with IEPs. Our social worker is the person that our children are going to go to tomorrow when we talk about children being shot in a school in Texas. And I'm sorry if I'm getting emotional, but our social workers, our clinicians, all of those people, and the value, and I know they're not on your list, but our speech therapist is so incredibly well trained. All of our clinicians are absolutely amazing. And for you to ask them to leave and then to sit back and tell me that you didn't, when I know for a fact that if you were to do just like you did with Halloween, if you were to step back and say, I made a mistake, I underestimated how amazing my staff is, I will take it back, because I also know for a fact you can. If you were to say that tomorrow they still have their jobs, that would be a huge step to showing us that you are listening, because right now, I don't think you are listening. I think you are giving me the same talking points that you gave me at every principal parent conversation, that you're working on it, that you're going to get back to us on that, but I'm not seeing the real work. And again, I apologize if I am being emotional. I really wanted to come in and be calm, but also it's not me. I don't do that, but I will tell you that I feel very strongly, and I am not going to let this particular issue slide. And I will not take, I didn't know, I'm coming back to it, they wanted to leave. I will not accept it as an answer. I will not accept it as an answer. And I want these people reinstated. I do not want my diverse learner team, because I have 3 diverse learners. We live in a society where CPS is sending out all of those big money promotions about mental health. but you are distinctly messing with our support systems and the mental health of our children in unprecedented times with a pandemic and everything that is happening in this world.
Thank you, Lori. Thank you. And just want to, we are in a space where, we are feeling this. I'll just put it this way. I do want us to be respectful and to give, acknowledge where we're making progress and where we're not, and where we need to ask those critical questions, as a parent has shared before, about holding ourselves and our school accountable for what we need to hold accountable. But I do want us to hold that space in a matter of respect. So thank you. Cindy, and then Mac.
I just apologize if I'm being too heated.
Thank you.
I just want to kind of establish a timeline in terms of the clinicians. So the teachers received notice on the 16th of May, correct? Anyone? Lori?
I believe that's what we've been told, yes.
It was on a Monday morning. I will remember that day forever.
So the district would have had to been notified a week before?
They had enough time to come up with new schedules.
So I guess what I'm asking for, Principal Gibson, is when did you decide, using your powers that be that you are allowed to do with clinical staff, when did you decide that they would not return?
As I've stated before, I'm looking for ways to move us forward. As far as the clinicians, I'm not allowed to talk about personnel issues. This is a personnel issue. This is a personnel issue, I again state to you. And administrators have the right to give feedback.
I think what I'm asking for is just plain straight honesty. The smoke and mirrors and the diplomacy and the pat answers, they're just not helpful in that moving forward. It just is not helpful. You don't have to, I just want to establish a timeline. I just want to know, because parents really want to know what was motivation. And I know you don't have to tell us your motivation, but we want to know, how are we going to trust you if we don't know where you're coming from?
And Cindy, there's certain information I cannot disclose. But again, it was not single-handedly a decision that was made lightly to give feedback. And it's not a decision that's made strictly by the principal. So I'm sharing policy and procedure with you.
Okay. And I think that what was shared earlier was a place of, where's the communication to families, and then what's the plan? What was the plan in play to support families, and strategies to support families and students knowing the loss? So I just want to reiterate that point. Kate?
I just wanted to say 2 points. I think I respect that Principal Gibson cannot tell us why she made her decisions. And I honestly have not been asking for that. I've been focusing on the communication and the strategy that's there. I do think it's clear that some feedback that you were given, that you gave, is what led to this. And I think there should have been a plan in place to communicate this better and to not make it be the chaotic, horrible situation that it was. And I would like, if we're talking about honesty and transparency and moving forward, I would like to hear some taking ownership of that mistake, because regardless of what happened, or you would be saying today, I didn't make that decision, I am very upset that CPS reassigned them, let me work on that. And we're not hearing that. We're hearing that there's new clinicians, and that was based on your feedback, which is fine. I know Lori says it's not fine, but what I'm saying is, I think getting at, there wasn't a plan for communication, there wasn't acknowledgement of how much this would affect the staff, and this has added to the number of people who said, I wasn't planning on leaving, I was going to give it another year, but now I think I may need to look elsewhere. The number of times I've heard that since last Monday is very high. So there is a real damage to the school population from the lack of communication and this falling without a plan and without a communication strategy. And I think that we need to acknowledge that to be able to talk about moving forward. Number one. The second part that I think that we have not said out loud that I read in my statement is that one of the reasons that this has caused so much chaos and fear amongst staff is because there is a feeling amongst staff that the reason that they were not asked back was as retaliation for them seeking support outside from the network. I have no idea exactly what was said. I don't know what happened, but that is the perception, is that this is retaliation. And if that's the retaliation against two of clinicians, now I again, can't say that that's true, but I need to be honest and transparent about what teachers and staff are feeling right now. And that is their perception. And that is one of the reasons we are in the crisis situation we're in right now. And I will defend that word of crisis, that I was the one who added that to the agenda, because I really do feel like that's where we are since last Monday. And so I just want to point out those 2 points.
Okay, Kate, so you said perception, and you said that that's their perception. I had no idea that those two had reached out to the network. So that has nothing to do with this. So that's miscommunicated information. It has absolutely nothing to do with this. And I don't retaliate against someone. This is not something personal, or I have some personal vendetta against somebody. This is a situation where staff is upset because two clinicians are not reassigned to our school. Again, that decision is not made by Principal Gibson by herself. I did share feedback, which I am allowed to do as an administrator, on our service providers, and a decision was made. I had no idea. Again, it was handled at the district. When this communication came out on May 16th, there was something that was not handled at the school level. It was handled at the district level, and I'm looking at ways to move our school forward. How to work to move our school forward with our new team, and to continue to build that team, repair some miscommunications and misunderstandings, and work collaboratively. It's a lot of things. Other people are talking to other people instead of coming with those questions and working collaboratively and proactively together. You know, like, how do we move forward? How do we build this team? How do we continue to build the best Tubman possible, you know, with the staff that we will have for the school year 23? I'm here because I care. I'm listening. I'm taking notes, and I'm thinking of ways to take it in. I'm hoping you guys are listening and you're taking notes, because it seemed like before this meeting it was very one-sided and you hadn't heard from me. You just heard of rumors and accusations. So as far as things to help move us forward, that's what I want to continue to work on. I want to continue to support our staff and our students and build a positive school-wide culture and environment here at Tubman.
Tina?
Thank you. I just want to reiterate some of what has been said, and just something to keep in mind as we discuss this. There, with constraints of confidentiality, Kimberly admitted that she gave feedback. She said that from the start. She can't come out and say, this was my feedback, or such and such gaps existed. She cannot do that. And so I think that needs to be kept in mind, and she should not be attacked for that. one question I have for Kimberly, at what point would you be allowed to communicate that clinicians were not returning, communicate with the staff and the community?
I actually have a meeting tomorrow with the director of related services. So there's some other things that I wanted to discuss before I come out with that communication and trying to get support with next steps.
I guess my more direct question is that something you would be allowed to communicate with staff and community before the announcement came from CPS?
No, because I didn't even know the announcement. Again, I didn't know about the announcement, and I didn't know who would be assigned where. I don't know. I don't know if our LSC team and our families are not hearing. Clinicians have a right to fill out a form as well. I have no idea what they fill out. I have no idea what their manager fills out. I don't know what the district rep fills out. Like, I don't get that information. The managers and the director of service provider, they get it and they make final decisions and they assign people. And I don't decide the date the information comes out, and I was not made aware of the date it comes out.
Kirsten?
Yeah. So Principal Gibson can't share the feedback that did or did not cause the clinicians to be like taken from our school, but we don't have anyone at the moment, right? Can you not ask them back now that you've seen like how negatively the idea of them leaving is affecting everyone?
Kirsten, I don't know the response to that answer at this time.
Okay. I see Lori, Cindy, and Nick, and then we're going to move on to the next agenda item. Lori, you're on mute.
Sorry, I'm not asking, and I think I've made it very clear, so I'm just going to say it one last time. I'm not asking for your feedback. I'm not asking for the defense of your decision. I was asking for you to admit it. I wasn't asking for you to admit that you requested that they be removed. And yes, they could choose to go somewhere else. That is not what happened here. You requested that they be removed from our school. Don't care what your reasoning was. I don't need to hear it. You're going to tell me it's an HR thing, that they have the right to leave. That is not what happened in this case. And I think that every single person on this call knows that that is not the example in this case. And yes, if Principal Gibson was to say that she would like them to return, they could return.
Thank you. Cindy?
Yeah, you know, it couldn't have been a secret to you. I know you weren't there on the day that the school was so rocked by this decision. It could not have been a secret. You must have heard, because you are the communicator that you say you are, and you are the collaborator that you say you are. So this could not have been a surprise. So knowing that, what did you have in place coming back in the school to try and restore some balance and to just sort of have a place to process this shocking information? What was in place on your return?
Cindy, I'll share one more time. I, as well as other administrators, did not know when this information was coming out or who would be assigned where. I did not know. I continue to say that.
No, when you got back to school, it could not have been a surprise going back into your school. You are the principal of this school. You know the ins and outs of what's going on in your school. What did you have in place walking in those doors knowing the information that they received? I know it wasn't a surprise. I know it had to have been communicated to you. What did you have in place to help your staff process this information?
So, Cindy, it was a surprise. I did not hear it until I came back to work. I did not know. When I came back to work, I had to sub in the classroom due to COVID. I have reached out to schedule a meeting with the director of related services, but again, I'm still working to work with our staff and our team to talk about how they are feeling. But it's also, I don't know, I don't have all of the positions. The information I received did not have, I know one service provider, I do not know the other who is being reassigned to our school. And these are things that I am still getting information on from the district. I will work on communication. I do know that we are sharing staff positions on June 1st, which is required by the CTU, which includes our clinician team.
Okay, Nick.
Thank you, Sarah. So I guess I'm still struggling with this part, as Cindy mentioned. So, you didn't know the day it happened, which is fine. But by that next day, I was getting multiple emails from parents who knew. I find it hard to believe that the leader of our school didn't know what had happened that day, that no one had told you what had happened. And my main concern, if we're talking about being collaborative and communicative, we are talking about this over a week after it happened. We, as a staff, we have still had no acknowledgement from our leadership that both of our clinicians, or two of our clinicians, are not coming back. And to me, we're talking about, we don't want to think of just perceptions or accusations. Well, then let's communicate clearly and get it out there. So, in my feeling, as soon as you knew as a collaborative leader, you should have informed your staff that you understood there was chaos that day. As soon as you found out, why have we still not received any official communication from our leader that two of our clinicians are gone? Now that everyone knew pretty much last week, all 105 people on this call know what happened. And I don't get the delay. Again, it's, yes, we can collaborate, we can communicate, but at this point, it's a little too late, in my opinion.
Nick, thank you for your feedback. And I do want to apologize. I do feel like I could have talked to the staff within this last week. I do take wholeheartedly that I could have done something to communicate, to bring our staff back together for something that I see is really impacting our school and staff culture. All I can say is I can try to work with you guys to move forward, to move our school.
Okay, Kate, and then we'll move on to the next agenda item, which relates to student safety. Kate, you're on mute.
I just want to acknowledge that Caroline Craig, who is our school psychologist, had her hand up and wanted to speak. And I think when we have these meetings and we're talking about other people or things that happened, that there's someone in the room that actually knows what happened, I would be open to hearing what she has to say. And I think we have let people who are not on the LSC speak during this portion when it's pertinent. And so I just wanted to open that up. And the second thing that I want to say, because I will not talk anymore about this, is I think that it is concerning to me that I've had more conversations about the effect of this staff change with staff, parents, and administrators at the school than I think you have, Ms. Gibson, in the last week. And this is not my full-time job. And so the fact that I've had about 15 hours of conversation about how to try to make fixes, what could be done, could they be asked back, what exactly happened, how can we communicate to diverse learners, the fact that I've had all of those conversations this week and not done my real job, it's concerning that I don't think you've had as many conversations this week on the same topic. And as much as we can move forward and have a plan, there's been so much damage done in the last week that I am kind of losing focus on how we move forward and what our next steps are coming out of this. And I have to say that the sadness and desperation that I've heard from staff in the last month is now starting to seep into me, because I don't feel like, particularly in this conversation, we've made any progress after about 45 minutes of discussion.
Thank you, Kate. Noted about Ms. Craig. And
I can speak for Ms. Craig. I think what she wanted to share is that she is still awaiting official feedback from Principal Gibson on why she was not called back.
And I'm on this call. I have shared that I would meet with Ms. Craig to give her feedback, and she has declined that meeting with me one-on-one. And I haven't heard from staff, Kate, and I have an open door policy. I am hearing from staff today of the impact, and I look forward to continuing these conversations and to continue to try to move forward. But again, the decisions that are made, we're a family, but like all families, we're not going to agree on every single decision that's made, but we have to continue to work as a family unit to move our school forward.
Okay, thank you. So moving on to our next bullet point, this is student safety as it relates to negligent conduct that in a way causes, let me read it as it is on the agenda. Student safety concerns and lack of reporting, and lack of adequate reporting of these concerns that has been brought to the attention of LSC members. So just to provide some context here, as it relates to this particular bullet point, as has been shared in the public comment section, we've heard from multiple parents and families that there were clear reports on safety that were not reported to OSP. And personally, I mean, and I've heard, and I've had these experiences whereby concerns have been shared, but yet there's no concerted response or rebuttals are put forward, and that is reflective of negligent behavior. And there seems to be potentially a pattern here as it relates to student safety complaints being put forward. So with that said, just wanted to kind of get us some point of clarity on, Principal Gibson, what is your understanding of what should be reported to OSP?
So there are clear guidelines what needs to be reported to OSP, as well as what needs to be reported as mandated reporters. Every staff member that works for CPS is a mandated reporter and required to report safety concerns, whether it's health with a student or any other concerns. Staff members do not have to wait to tell principal, and actually they are mandated to report any concerns. We are following all OSP and health and safety protocols when things are reported to us. The safety of our students is very, very important to us. So when these issues are reported, they are reported and recorded. And then the district follows up on all OSP investigations, as well as if a mandated reporter reports some, DCFS follows up. And every LSC member is a mandated reporter as well.
Okay, and can you clarify, you said reported and recorded. Does that mean it's reported and recorded on an internal kind of document as it relates to a student incident report, or is this get officially logged into OSP? Can you provide some clarity around that?
Yes, when incidents are reported, they are logged into our district tool, which is called Aspen. And when things are reported, mandated reporters report to DCFS, they log it as well as they send over information.
These are all incidences, or is there kind of a criteria you have in play before you report an incident in Aspen?
Incidences that occur can be a wide thing. They can be a wide thing, so I don't quite understand your question.
So I'm just trying to get clarity. Are all incidences reported at Aspen? I'm just trying to get clarity at the process. You said all incidences are recorded and reported, and then you shared
As
that.
far as OSPR is concerned, it is recorded in Aspen.
If the level, if the incident that it merits OSP, so there's some criteria you have in which you would then identify this is an incident that should be reported to OSP. Am I understanding that correctly?
If it is OSP, it goes in our Aspen, and OSP responds and follows up with the incident. There are incidences of a student that might get hurt or fall off the playground. That is reported in Aspen. There's various things that are recorded and reported in our internal Aspen. But all safety concerns are to be reported by staff as well as administrators. It's all staff, if they have knowledge of it.
Okay, Kate?
I want to get a little bit of clarity about what exactly we're talking about. The mandated reporter thing gets thrown around. I'm a pediatrician. I have to know my mandated reporter laws inside and out and what I can report, what I have to report, how I do that. It's my license. My understanding is that CPS has kind of broadened what they want reported to OSP so that nothing is missed. And so I have not done the CPS training, but from what I hear from people I've talked to, things like a staff member showing favoritism towards a child, that is not something that me as a mandated reporter, I need to report. That is not a crime, but it is a concerning step towards possible abuse in the future. So my understanding is OSP has a very, very low threshold for what they want reported so that they can make sure they know about everything and they get to things sooner than they maybe have in the past. And so when we're talking about all instances for when the mandated reported get reported, I think there's some separate categories here. There are definitely things that I would not need to report to anyone as a mandated reporter, but those who have gotten the CPS training on that very low threshold should be reporting if there's concerning behavior particularly by a staff member or a teacher. And so I think that is what we're trying to get at here, is that we, in talking to parents and staff, we have heard about concerns brought to Principal Gibson that now that we understand what that threshold is, we understand should have been reported, because parents particularly didn't get that CPS training on that low level of things that should go to OSP. And so I think we have to be very clear about what we're asking and what we're saying, because my understanding is that the OSP report that was made that came to light this week in Principal Gibson's email, there had been multiple concerns raised by multiple people to Principal Gibson, and there was no notification of OSP until a parent and a clinician were the ones who raised it to OSP. That is my understanding. And so if someone would like to tell me I'm wrong or that I'm misunderstanding how OSP is supposed to work and what kind of things are supposed to be reported, but in this discovery this week of me talking to everyone, I realized there were a whole lot of things that should have been reported that me as a stated mandated reporter who knows these things would not have realized should have been reported.
So Kate, I cannot discuss any OSP investigation, as I have already shared. That is up to the district. I am not allowed. Anything reported has been reported to the proper people. So I'm going to repeat that. Anything reported has been reported to the proper people.
Lori?
So if a staff member came to you with a concern about something that they witnessed or something that was said to them, you filed it into Aspen? Or did you question their interpretation of the event? Did you question or say that that's not what happened? did you put into Aspen when staff came to you with concerns?
Anytime staff came to me with a concern that is an OSP, either I or my AP have recorded it. I cannot talk about any OSP currently, right, or investigation.
I'm not asking you.
But I do want to say, staff at any time, if they have suspicion, they have a duty to report it as well themselves as a mandated reporter. That is required by their job, and they've had training. Every staff member that is a board member of CPS has OSP training as well as mandated reporter training.
And I understand that. So you're saying that when the staff came to you with these concerns, you filed it into Aspen, but OSP did not respond because there was no investigation. OSP did not have records of these things. So if you're saying your job is everything that comes to you, your job as our leader is to put it into Aspen so that then it will trigger. And I know how this works because I've had things that have triggered and we know those things even just as an informed parent. So you're saying that you entered them in, but OSP did not follow up or respond or come back to you with a response. So those things were entered by you into Aspen.
So I did not say everything, all things that I put it into Aspen. What I shared is anything concerning a OSP investigation has been logged. I am not allowed to discuss a OSP investigation or the actions that have been taken or consequences. That is confidentiality and it is against board policy. I don't know what concerns you are specifically talking about that people have brought to me, you know, that's hearsay. But again, I cannot disclose any OSP investigations or discuss confidential information.
That's great. Was not asking for that, but thank you very much. I am listening to what you are saying.
Kate and then Nick.
I just want to clearly state that I do not want to discuss any specific thing that's happening. We have made sure that everything that was going to be read tonight would not include any information that would be damaging or pertain to the investigation, because we have faith in OSP to do what is right, and we don't want to make assumptions, and we don't want to ask Principal Gibson to be commenting on an ongoing investigation or make any accusations or anything like that. I want to put that aside because the concern that I have is, I will say this, I have been told that a parent came with a concern in January. And according to OSP, there was no filing of anything concerning about this incident until this last week. And so I think there is a concern. I do have a job as being on the LSC to make sure that particularly parent concerns that are coming to the principal, because we can't file in Aspen and we don't know the procedures and we haven't done this, that those concerns that parents would bring to you would be appropriately reported because we don't have the pathway. And so I think that is the part of this that I would like to get some answers on and be clear about, because either, yes, if there were concerns that were brought to you and they were sent to OSP and OSP did not act until last week, or those concerns were not registered in the way that they should have been when a parent came to a principal with concerns. And so even though we cannot talk about this case, and I do not want to talk about the case, the part of this that is most, the part of this that I am supposed to be focusing on is there appropriate accountability? Is there appropriate reporting when a parent has a concern about a staff member to OSP as the trainings mandate? And that is the thing that we actually have to get some answers on and we have to get to, because if that did not happen, it puts students at risk. And if we're talking about issues raised in January not being addressed until May, until that parent went to OSP themselves, that is very concerning. And it also echoes a lot of the statements that we heard from staff and some parents today about concerns not being taken seriously or not raised to the next level, or the veracity of those claims being challenged when people made them. And so I want to be very specific about what we are asking and what information we're trying to get. And I want to be very clear that this is within the purview of an LSC and under the CIWP, that we are in charge of making sure that there is a safe environment where student safety and staff safety is at the utmost importance, and everything that everyone is doing is in that goal. And so I just want to be very crystal clear about what we are talking about and making sure that as other people talk, we are not veering outside of that. But I very much believe that this is within the purview of this LSC.
So Kate, thank you for that. So we can stay focused. Far as safety concerns, when they are brought, they are documented and we follow the policy and procedure of the district. I don't know a specific case that you're talking about in January. I don't know a date. I don't have the details, and I cannot share any ongoing investigation or any past investigation as far as OSP. But what I can say is when things are brought, and if it is a OSP, it is not an administrator's job to do the investigation. We report it and let the right people do their investigation. We don't go back and forth and question or try to talk people out of things. So again, those are accusations and hearsay, but we follow the board policy. And the board policy is and procedures is what's being followed to ensure the safety of our staff, our students, and this administration.
Okay, Nick.
So just a point of clarification, and again, we are not asking about, as you said, it is not our job to investigate. That is why we report things to OSP. Was there a protocol in place, or if a staff member came to you with a concern that was deemed something to report in OSP, what protocol was there to ensure either you or AP Moore or the staff member themselves, because we are mandated reporters, was there a protocol to make sure that it was recorded in OSP by one of the members, either teacher, principal, AP, in a timely manner? Like, how did you know they were going to do it versus you were going to do it?
So I don't know what incident you're talking about. I don't have that knowledge. What I can say is, as a school, as a mandated reporter, you had the training, you know what to do as far as reporting it. We have misconduct and incident reports that staff fills out, as well as we've asked staff to send an email with their feedback that we could take and put right into reports. Those are steps that we have in place.
So just to clarify, I'm not talking about any specific incident. I'm saying, okay, I come to you tomorrow, I have a concern that I think should be inputted into Aspen and let OSP know about. How do I know if you are going to do it or if I should do it? What is the communication plan there?
If there's an incident that OSP should know about, we've asked teachers to write a misconduct report so we could take their words or whatever happened and put it right into the system.
So again, I'm sorry to push this, but how do I know? Is there anything given to me, the staff member, to let me know it's been put into OSP? Like, is there a default email? Like, what kind of communication? So I know, okay, I reported this, I filled out the incident report, you have it, it's going to go into OSP. what is my follow-up? What follow-up is there to know it's going to be input in a timely manner?
So if it's OSP, you have the number to OSP to see if it's been filed. As a mandated reporter, you can report it as well. But Aspen, there's only certain people who have access. So some incidences are put in by our counselor. So it's our counselor, the AP, or myself.
Thank you. So it sounds like we need to collaborate on a protocol, a clear protocol on what will happen, who reports what, how do we follow through. Thank you for that.
So CPS does have a protocol, and it's through your mandated reporting, training, and OSP, but we can constantly review that as a staff and a team if we need to go through it again.
Okay, Lori and then Kate, and then we're going to move on to the next agenda item.
So it sounds like you're saying that it is not your responsibility as the principal to confirm that these things from your staff have been properly inputted into Aspen and that they are properly being escalated with the Department of Student Protection Services, whatever their name is. So you're not responsible. They are responsible as mandatory reporters. So instead of coming to you, reporting the situation, they should be putting it into Aspen themselves and then contacting the office, because your department is not, your office, you are not responsible for making sure that things are being done correctly in Aspen, especially things that are directly influencing the safety of your staff and your students.
I did not say those words, Lori.
I know. I'm just trying to clarify it because I'm just hearing the other words. So
No,
how would you see
not.
your role? What is your role when I have, because I was, as an LSC member, I was tasked to get feedback. Multiple staff members came to me with very clear recollections, some of them written, some of them spoken, on situations where they came directly to you with concerns. Your response, which, I mean, Nick could read the letter again, is very distinct. Whoever read the clinician letter, it is very distinct what your response is. But now you're saying that your staff were the mandatory reporters. So they're responsible for putting all of these things into Aspen and then following up to make sure that CPS is following up on their concerns.
That is not what I said. And I would like to share that every staff member that is a member of CPS, we are mandated reporters. So staff doesn't necessarily have to come and inform me, but as a mandated reporter, they can inform the principal, but not just inform the principal, they are to report it as a mandated reporter. That is in the policy of procedures of a mandated reporter per board policy.
That's just what I said.
I follow up if a staff member comes to me. I'm trying to give a response. If a staff member comes to me or a member of administration, we do log any incidents that are possibly OSP. And then it is on OSP to reach back. We have made phone calls if we haven't heard in a certain amount of time, if they haven't reached back about incidences. But I cannot, disclose any pertinent specific information to any specific cases. So I was just trying to explain the procedures.
Kate.
I have to say two things. One is, Principal Gibson, you are the boss in the building. You are the boss of the majority of the people in that building. I'm a boss of some people. And if someone comes to me about a complaint, particularly a safety complaint about one of my direct reports, that immediately becomes my responsibility to figure out if there is a safety concern that needs to be dealt with, regardless of someone being a mandated reporter or someone else having the responsibility. If I am the boss of someone and a concern is raised about student safety, patient safety, whatever it is, it immediately becomes that responsibility of the direct supervisor to take action and to make sure this is done. All of the things that we're talking about that are dancing around, what's the policy or procedure? Yes, it would be great if there is a concern that is brought to you, is filed by somebody who directly saw it, but it is also your responsibility as the supervisor of that person to make sure that the complaint is dealt with appropriately, filed appropriately, and that student safety is protected. And so a lot of the conversation that we're having is kind of pushing, is passing the buck. It would be one thing if you were a mandated reporter that was at the same level of all of these people and you overheard it. Yes, technically, that since you heard it, you would be responsible too. But you are the leader of the building and you are the direct supervisor of all of these things, of all of the people that this is talking about. And so I think there is a level of accountability that I'm not hearing here. And there's a level of lack of leadership or concern about student safety that is very alarming to me. And I'm hearing you talk about policies and procedures, and I haven't once heard you say, when someone walks in my door and there's a concern about student safety, it becomes my first priority, and this happens, and this happens, and this happens. It's almost like I tell them to notify OSP, and then they'll notify me if I need to do something. That's not appropriate. And having heard people say that there were concerns lodged in January, February, March, all of these things, and then an OSP investigation didn't happen till May, from the approach that you are talking about and the kind of reactive approach that I've been hearing tonight, like it seems to make sense. And I'm not hearing the ownership and the accountability that I think I need to be hearing to feel that our children are safe in the school and our staff are safe.
Kate, I want you to hear me clearly. When concerns are brought to me or my AP, we log it. Some of these concerns that's being brought up, I don't know what they're talking about or what incident they're talking about, so I can't speak to it. But when it is brought to me, we follow policy and procedure. I want to make sure I'm communicating clearly and concise to you, saying that when there are specific incidences, I would appreciate if staff come to me, but if they don't, staff has other protocol in place that they are supposed to follow to also help keep our students safe. But when things are brought to administration, it is logged. Our students' safety and health is a primary concern of mine. And it's something that I'm constantly trying to ensure, whether it's anything from COVID, a kid getting hurt, all the way to an OSP investigation. I am always having our students at the forefront, as well as our staff, and ensuring that safety and health is a top priority and a top concern.
Thank you. And I would just say, I mean, it does sound like there does need to be some clear protocols in play around what that can should look like as it relates to that collaborative effort between parents, families, staff, teachers, as well as leadership, because it's still not clear to me. But moving on to the last agenda item on the principal evaluation process is the principal evaluation process, and more specifically, we're moving into this issue of lack of adequate LSC member input into the principal evaluation process. As an LSC member, I will share that this was an unprecedented process that we engaged in this year. Meeting was scheduled fairly quickly, and then I know there was a committee assigned to do a lot of the prep work and preparation for the actual evaluation, and some of those committee members were not present during the actual evaluation. So I just wanted to, and so it seemed a little deviated in terms of timeline, and all those that were engaged in the process was a little different this year. So just wanted to share a little bit about how, share that just in terms of how that process went, and then also kind of thinking about ways in which we can ensure that all feedback is included in the principal evaluation process. Cindy?
Yeah, so wow. I think if we could all just take a collective deep breath, and this is a tough one. We haven't talked much about ways that we tried to find resolution this year, and I just wanted to share this with the group. In late March, I was asked by a group of teachers to meet with them because they were at a point that they were feeling brave enough to have some very specific and detailed conversations about how they're feeling in terms of the climate and the culture in the building. And my whole purpose for that was just to sit and just to listen, to give them a safe space to have that conversation. It was a heartbreaking conversation. It was a surprising conversation on some levels. On some levels, I knew that there are already things happening in the building. When I receive information like this, my question is to sort of break down, sort of give you the top 5 issues that you see that you feel need to be resolved. And then I ask the group, well, what do you want me to do with this information? At that point, the group just wanted this information to be shared with the local school council. So I did that. And then I thought, I need to sit down with Principal Gibson. I need to sit and I need to do the same thing. So I scheduled a meeting, brought lunch, and had a sit down with she and Bernie. Same thing, just to listen. And I did. And that conversation was also heartbreaking and highly informative and troublesome. And I walked out of there needing to process that information, but still feeling hopeful, like, okay, where are we gonna merge these sides, and where are we gonna have resolution, where we can have these conversations? And Principal Gibson in that meeting, because I asked her the same thing, okay, you've given me a lot of information. What do you want to do with this information? She requested to have some small group meetings, not LSC meetings, on neutral turf. We're asking that her mentor come in, her coach come in, couple of board members, and just have some really good restorative conversations. I went directly home. I called another LSC member. I said, what do you think? Okay, this sounds good. We even went so far as to put together what could possibly be the groups and how we would do that. I sent this right away to Tina, our chair, and thought, okay, let's do this. Nothing. No movement. And then we were heading into the principal evaluation, and I'm on the principal evaluation committee, and I'm not sure what the heck I am evaluating. And as your parent rep on the LSC, I will completely own that. Should we have moved on trying to get some sort of survey for the parents in the school community going? Absolutely. Was that done? It didn't get done. So now we're faced with evaluating a principal on paper. Things that are expected in terms of boxes checked, there's just, and that's it. We don't have teacher input yet. We don't have the My School, My Voice input. We don't have a parent survey, and we didn't have any restorative conversation to get any other feedback, which I thought was the most important thing in terms of evaluating our principal. Any principal, not saying that it's not true, but any principal can fill out those forms. We can give to the principal our expectations of evidence of what we want to see, and any of those things can be filled out. But where's the substance to that? We're just looking for something. Then a date was decided on to have the principal evaluation with myself as one of the committee members out of town. And I know that we're pushed up against one deadline, a May 1st deadline, to have information put into PIAT. But what I don't understand, and I have it, and I reread it again today, is that we can have a feedback session, and in that feedback session, we can discuss scores, and we can change scores, and we can input new scores by May 30th. I've been asking that from the very beginning. I wanted this feedback meeting. I have asked for this feedback meeting, thinking it's so important. We needed more time. This was not something to be rushed with a brand new principal, brand new, green as can be. So we tried. We tried for restorative conversations. We tried to blend both sides. Those things were not pursued. And that was highly disheartening for myself and other LSC members.
Nick and then Tina.
I just wanted to share with everyone. So, every year is a little different with the principal evaluation process. I know we had the meeting earlier, I believe was it January, February. We understood we had missed the deadline for the surveys, all of that. So we moved on. We had a great principal evaluation team meeting with Cindy and Tina and others who were on it, requesting the information from Principal Gibson. And then, yes, the special meeting was scheduled, and not everyone could make it. That's not unheard of. What I found distressing was there was nothing made available for the members who were not present at the principal evaluation meeting to provide feedback or take any part in the rating, in the score rating. In the past, that's always been sent out well ahead. This time, and I know Tina and I communicated about this, we did not receive any of the documents until 24 hours before, at which time we felt it was too late to send something out ahead of time for people to put scores in. Maybe I should have pushed on that I will take responsibility for. But it does mean that 3 members got no input of any kind officially in the principal evaluation. What really perturbs me is that the 3 members are 2 only parents who are returning to the LSC, Cindy and Lori, and are 1 returning community member. So 3 of next year's LSC members were not given an opportunity to partake in the principal evaluation that they will have to finalize next year.
Thank you. Tina?
Thank you. I just want to address some things that have been said. First of all, Cindy, when you brought your idea to me, I repeatedly told you that I thought it was a good idea. So tell the whole story. I said it was a good idea, and I said it just cannot be part of principal evaluation per the requirement that Principal Gibson is aware of what she will be evaluated against by November 10th. That's exactly what I told you. And every time you came to me, I still have the text messages. I said, great idea, just not part of the evaluation. And I said, I think Kimberly would be open to it. Just we can't make it part of the evaluation because of that not being fair, that it wasn't decided November 10th. So that is what I said to you. Also, regarding the meeting date, we had budget, and so things got pushed out. And so when unlike this special meeting, I sent out a Google form and had to chase you down for you to enter your availability. So I was collaborative in that effort to try to get as many people as possible up against the deadline. So it was not a decision I made, oh, Cindy's out of town. Oh, Lori's not available. Let's schedule principal evaluation. I even checked to see if maybe we could do it late. And that was not an option. Also, for information as far as members participating that were not at the meeting, the form where you enter your scores was provided, I would say, at least 3 weeks in advance. I sent it out more than once. Not one person came to me asking if they could complete it and provide it because they cannot be at the meeting. So that score sheet was sent multiple times to every member. Thank you.
I'm just going to be a reminder of watching tones.
Lauren? Lauren, you're on mute.
You think 3 hours in, I would have it down. I was approached by staff the first time, November 4th, 2021. They had a whole list of concerns. They asked me to ask the LSC to do a survey because already at that point they were feeling uncomfortable with the things that were happening. And Tina said that she did not feel comfortable. I'm sorry, Tina. I mean, we've worked together for so long.
No, that's fine, Lori, because I have my reasons and I shared those with you.
I did. And I'm just saying that this isn't something that came up recently just around. And again, I'm not attacking you. I'm just saying that we have tried different ways to gather that information and that feedback from the staff. And we've been struggling in as an LSC. So I feel like this special meeting has come as, I know we're all exhausted and we're all emotional. And I'm sorry for that, but I feel like we have failed gathering this feedback and being collaborative on all sorts. And we have reached that point where I don't see how there's going to be collaboration now. Maybe if we had acted immediately, maybe if we hadn't given so much grace, maybe if we hadn't been so patient or whatever we did, or neglectful, whatever your opinion is of how it happened, this is where we're at. And it's unfortunate for our school because our staff and our students deserve so much better. And I am afraid for those who have to go into the building tomorrow.
Okay. Thank you all for sharing. And so, I mean, as it relates to this particular issue, you know, it looks, from what we're hearing, it sounds like, you know, I guess the question I have is, could we provide feedback to Principal Gibson at this point? And what can and should that avenue look like as it relates to her evaluation? Tina and then Cindy.
You know, I'll answer your question regarding the feedback. A couple of things. A feedback session is principal discretion. And also, per our after evaluation meeting, I've collected all the comments and that we shared in closed session and have drafted a feedback document that will still be provided to Kimberly once the council views it and okays it at the June meeting. That was the agreement that a document would be created, and that is going to happen, and the council will see that and it will be provided to Kimberly.
Thank you, Cindy.
Just to clarify, I did not think that having restorative meetings was going to take place of what CPS requires the LSC to do for principal evaluation. I did not think that. I just thought that we could have bumped up in terms of prioritizing when the principal asks for these meetings, and I move on it and try to make this happen and get nothing in response. I just wanted the greater community to know that there were efforts.
Who did you get nothing in response from, Cindy? I'm just curious. Who did you get nothing from?
From you or Kimberly. Like,
Cindy,
okay, let's do it.
How many times did I encourage you to have it? I encourage you to do it.
But
did I not?
You're our chair. I needed all you. Okay. Well, we're going to be in an.
And I gave you the green light. If there's something that you want to pursue, I said go ahead and do it. I mean, I don't know how to be more clear, honestly.
Okay. I'm just going to read something from LSC Handbook. An optional feedback session may occur during the month of May. If on the basis of the feedback session, there is a revision in the final principal professional practice scores and ratings, these are recorded in POP by May 30th. The LSC must vote in an open session on the evaluation scores and ratings before the information is entered in PI.
Optional fee. Optional
And the
fee.
option has been declined.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, I just want the greater community to know that there is an option and it's not been opted for.
And I'm sorry, Sarah, but this meeting has carried over. The building is about to close soon. And for my safety, I would like to leave. While there's still people in the building, considering issues that have been going on. So I would like to leave while it's safe and get home to my family. So
Absolutely. Yes, we are wrapping up, and I'll just read out loud as we move into our next agenda item, action items, and next steps. I'm just going to read out loud some of the action items that have been articulated, which includes putting a protocol in place for hiring a one-pager, Principal Gibson that you referred to, sharing the school culture and climate data in July, that 5 essentials data, creating a sharing kind of that one pager on the updating of hiring practices at the next June meeting, looking at the impact of staff loss as regards to budget. We need to follow up on that. And then having a communication or strategy or protocol in play as it relates to student safety issue concerns. Those are the action items that I have noted from this meeting so far. Anyone want to add to that before I move forward and adjourn? Okay, all right, very good. It is 9:13 and we would like to motion to adjourn this special meeting. Thank you all for your attendance, your time, your feedback.
I motion.
Thank you. Thank you, Kate. All those in favor of adjourning at 9:13. Any opposed? Any abstain? That is unanimous. Thank you, everyone, and have a home, and we look forward to moving through this collaboratively. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone that remained on the call.